when I decided, hey, let me take this first personal day off, I threw all of my uniforms away. I knew I wasn't coming back. The first day, man. That's the first time I took the time off. And at that point, I really kind of vested in my insurance business.
Mm-hmm.
You know, as far as like really, at that point, I opened my own agency, and it was called Insurance Access.
Yeah.
Homeowner. In 2020 and like 2023, we went from like 300,000 to like 5 million.
I come in here, it looks professional. Tune into the content.
And he was like, yeah, that sounds like a lot. But I was like, if you think about it, it's really not. Depending on if you go to school, you're going to spend all this money. And now with doing Audible, you could spend $1,000 buy so many books.
Right.
And now you saved, you maximized the money that you were going to spend anyways. And he was like, oh, that's a good way to think about it. I was like, exactly. That's what I'm about to do right now. I'm about to spend maybe $1,000 buying all these different books.
Right.
Over the course of this next 6 months. And then it's going to be just all this knowledge in my head instead of going to school.
It'll make you millions.
Which is crazy.
Yeah, it'll make you millions. And I'll tell you this too, man. Just the reason that people are reluctant to invest money in themselves is because they don't plan on doing the work. If someone says like, hey man, look, I want to put this investment, can I try this? Does it work or whatnot? The reason that they're apprehensive of doing it is because they don't have a confidence in their consistency in themselves. If you make up something in your mind, just like this idea here, like we're gonna do this regardless of whatever happens, you know, I'm gonna put the steps in. $1,000, $200,000 when it gets to that space, 50,000, 10,000, 500 won't seem like anything because in your mind, you've made up your mind on what you're gonna do, no matter what it takes to get this space, no matter what it takes in between to get from here to here. If you've already committed to that, you know, and what happens is that as you prove to yourself, like with this entire concept here, you guys already proven to yourself that you can do it. You know what I mean? The most, you know, stifling thing that happens in most businesses or most concept ideas, they get road weary and they stop. They get like right here, and you don't realize that like if you actually push through it, that on the other side is really the breakthrough, because you really don't understand. But what happens is that from those books that you're reading, it's a blueprint because other people have been successful and they just say, you know, you could just learn from their experience instead of just being blind. So those books, man, I'm telling you,
it's clutch.
Oh, what?
That's what do they call it? Wisdom, right? When you can learn from somebody else's mistakes.
Oh, yeah.
You have to go through it. Wisdom.
It'll save you 10 years.
You know, which is ironic that we're talking about this is because, we haven't started yet.
Okay.
You can put them on. You can put them on. We're about to start soon.
It says left and right side of you.
Okay, got it.
Yeah, we're about to start soon. But before we start,
we're just catching up, man.
Yeah, I know.
Exactly.
It's been like 7 years.
That's
man.
right.
We were just talking about that.
We've been knowing him for like 7-8 years, probably longer than that. When did you start?
I started at QT in 2012.
Okay, see, and I started in 13. See, I was right after.
Yeah, I remember when
a year or two right after that.
And I remember when you, how long had you been at QT?
16.
Yeah, he's still there now, so yeah.
And the irony of that is here, I got a little grease on my head.
Oh, you're good. You're good. I'll clean it after.
Yeah, he'll wipe it off.
The irony of it is that before I started at QT, I ran a business here for 5 years in this area. I ran a barbershop and salon down the street from here. I had for 5 years.
You ran it or owned it?
I owned it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, before I started at QT.
Yeah.
So how I got introduced to Quick Trip is I forgot her name. She worked in corporate or at the office. Not Jen. I forgot her name.
That's funny. There's so many people that got promoted.
Yeah, she's been there. She's an older lady. She could have retired by now.
Rebecca?
Not Rebecca. Older black lady. I forgot her name. But she was a client of mine. She was a customer of mine. I had like a beauty supply store next door, right on right on Cooper in Arkansas.
Yeah.
So I'm very familiar with this area because I owned a business and I lived in this area for a little bit as well. So, you know, I just wasn't as disciplined around the time as I really should have been. I wasn't on books. I wasn't, you know, but I always had an entrepreneurial spirit. I mean, I've always been an entrepreneur my entire life. This Quick Trip was the longest actual job that I've ever had.
Yeah.
I think it's probably the second job I've actually ever had.
Mm-hmm. And it's crazy too, because to me, I could always tell that was never your end goal. I think everybody could tell that was never your end goal.
Yeah. Well, it was a blessing because I never had an opportunity to be hired at a job. Every job that I actually had, someone introduced me to the job.
Mm-hmm.
Like I think my first job was an internship at an insurance company. That's when I got the exposure to insurance and everything, like Liberty Mutual. And then the second job I had was an internship, and I was like an assistant manager part-time, like on weekends at a Walgreens. Transferred the job here, transferred the job from Louisiana because I was running a business in Louisiana as well, and was able to I had an opportunity because the business that I was running, a good friend of mine had a clothing store, and I was selling shoes online, like Nikes, J's, things like that. I was getting them,
like reselling
them and everything like that. So I had an opportunity. He's like, well, this barbershop and salon is right next door, and I was trying to get back to Dallas, so I moved here based on that opportunity. Transferred the job. Just wasn't really focused, man, and just running my business, and my income was being supplemented at Walgreens. I was supplementing some of my income at Walgreens. I was still only working weekends. And then, I just wasn't serious and they fired me. They should have fired me a long time ago, believe it or not. I was just slacking. But, I had a barbershop and salon, had a beauty supply store, and I forgot her name. She used to come in all of the time. And I was just looking for another position to kind of supplement my income because, in retrospect, it was me. I wasn't responsible. I had a good opportunity. I wasn't focused. I wasn't getting up on time because whenever you're in entrepreneurial space, you literally have to depend on your own discipline.
Yeah.
And, if you don't get it done, it doesn't get done.
Yeah.
So that's a lot of the fear that people have jumping into it, because now you have to stay consistent within yourself to get the concept out. And a lot of that comes from affirmations, because we're programmed to be like negative. So if you sit in your own space, you're going to think about how this is not going to work, or just like when he mentioned, well, we only had a couple of views or followers, and so whenever you wake up, your subconscious, your RAS, that's your reticular activation system. When you wake up, the first 20 minutes that you wake up, it's the most sensitive. It's like you're brainwashing yourself. So if you just cut on affirmations that's pouring into your subconscious, your psyche, you can get them on YouTube or whatever. It kind of programs you. It's like taking an emotional mental shower, to where it programs you to where you're positive. Now you can get to the next step. And now those doubts that you typically would have had, that when you're waking up and you kind of have that anxiety, I don't know if this is going to work, I have this to do, all of that is kind of brainwashed because you're reaffirmed on what you can do. Now, in that space, you listen to the books and you get that education, working out, and then you stick to that schedule. Now you have all of the belief in yourself, and you realize, man, everything, now that I have more control, I'm in their controlled environment, and I'm not maximizing my talent for what I could actually do here. So let me build myself, because really what it takes is to build yourself. When you build your own confidence and you create systems, you can utilize each avenue, like the job or like whatever, to kind of supplement what you're gonna do in the future. You know what I mean? And then after a while, you get so busy, to where you have to make a decision. You're like, okay, well, I gotta decide whether I'm gonna do this or that, or make it part of the plan.
Yeah.
Make it part of the plan. But it's all self-mastery. Anything that you do is self-mastery, and then collectively doing it is really going to take you guys to the next level, because now iron is sharpening iron.
I feel like it is, because for instance, Roger's never done entrepreneurship probably his whole life, right, Roger?
The closest thing I've done to that is maybe sell chocolates for a group of people inside of a van. But that's about it. I remember being 13, and we used to have to go door to door in the heat of summer, carrying a big ass tote of chocolate.
Yes.
That's just melted.
Yeah.
Yeah, bro. The funny thing about it though is these people, they were, dude, come to find out, they were just people trying to hustle some kids to work for them.
Oh yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
So they can make free money basically.
Yeah.
Free
Yeah.
labor.
Yeah, it was $10 $10 a box of chocolates, and then it was like, okay, but we're only gonna give you $2.
Ah, yeah.
Oh,
Bro,
yeah.
see,
Yeah.
you say that, bro, that's what I was doing to people at school. Like, Jose, I had
Yeah.
those 5 people selling for me, and I was just like, take 4 or 5 items or whatever you want to eat, and then give me the rest of the money. And they would do it every single week after week after week. I did this all senior year.
Yeah.
All senior year. But, like, Roger had asked me, this was, like, way at the beginning. He was like, what did you say about entrepreneurship? You were like, you asked me a question about like, are you a serial entrepreneur or something like that, or has entrepreneurship always been inside you or something like that? What you
Yeah,
say?
basically, I think like the question I asked you on a previous episode was more of have you always been an entrepreneur, or is that just something you kind of like picked up along the way?
Oh yeah. Then I was just like, yeah, it's just in me. Like you were saying, you tried multiple businesses. You just keep trying different things. You've always done entrepreneurship, so it's just that same idea of it. I like how you said. It's a good reference to that because now I can actually say that and I'm gonna take that. But you said that people don't have the confidence within themselves to think that they can stay consistent, and that's their own mentality of, oh, I don't think I can. I want to do it, but I don't think I can stay consistent doing it, and that's just because their own mind is telling them, like you said, they're just thinking negative. Oh, it's just a thought. It sounds fun, but you're not that dedicated to doing it, and it's really just tricking your mind to say, you know what, I am gonna just stay consistently doing it and flipping the switch that a lot of people can't do. But that's just being, I don't want to say awakened, but just what is it called where you're relevant for yourself. I can't even think of the word of it. I can't even think of
Self-aware?
Yeah, self-awareness. You have to have that self-awareness to be to know what you're good at, what you're not good at, what you need to improve on, and etc. A lot of people just don't have that. Like somebody I know is just like, they're so stuck in their old ways that they just can't even see that they're inside. They're in front of their own way, and they just need to get out of their own way and just keep pushing. But then they're just stuck there. Like that's literally what it is. They're just stuck, and that mindset is almost never going to change unless they wanted to.
And they'll hold on to those excuses and those reasons, and it's really pure honesty. It's as pure as honesty that it's the most character building experience that you'll ever have is just entrepreneurship. It's like, you know, when you say yes, that's a commitment. You commit to a timeline of things and commit to it. Just like if someone were to ask you to go to could you take me to the airport at 6:00 in the morning on Thursday? If you say yes, that's gonna alter your entire. You're immediately getting uncomfortable. Mm-hmm. Okay, I got to get out of my routine. I got to do that. So, whenever you say yes, you got to understand that, and then that's that obligation. Okay, people when they say yes, they're interested, but they're not committed. And I always like this statement by Les Brown. He said, "Next time you eat bacon and eggs, understand that the chicken was interested, involved, but the pig was committed." You know.
Yeah.
So it's just like whenever you commit, it's like jumping in a body of water. I gotta depend on these internal values and the consistency of getting up every morning and getting more time in the day. There's not more time, you know. So I value, especially my earlier entrepreneurial journey, waking up at 4 a.m. every morning. You know, I didn't know to wake up at 4 a.m. in the morning, but I listened to, you know, affirmations, and that's what they said the leaders were doing. So let me do that. How do I get more time in the day? Wake up early. How do I feel good, you know, in the time of the day? Listen to certain books. Ed Milet is a good book to listen to. Max Out Your Life.
It's called what?
Max Out Your Life.
Oh, Max Out Your Life.
Do you guys realize in a 70-year life, because if you're lucky, you get 75 years. That's 75 winters, summers, springs, and falls.
That's a lot.
If you're lucky, that's all you get. But throughout that time, you're asleep in the bed 28 years.
Yeah.
Sleep. You know what I mean? So you start really evaluating your mortality. Mm-hmm. And as we were driving here, it was, you know, a little bit of euphoria because, you know, nostalgia, I'll say, because it reminded me of the things that I were doing here and some of the tasks that were meaningless, you know, throughout that 5-year span of me running business and not really being consistent. And now that I'm honed in on, you know, the specifics of my time and how I line it up, I was like, man, I kind of, it was an awakening because I wasted 5 years.
Yeah.
And kind of how you mentioned that, like how you mentioned, Roger, okay, you know, they were just trying to hustle a couple of kids and, you know, giving us like $2 for it. But when you take your get an out-of-body experience and look at the whole system that you're currently in, you know, from top to bottom, and look at the time frame that, you know, Chet, as far as what he used his life to accomplish this. Well, he accomplished this within a time frame that he's still alive.
Yeah.
You can do the same thing.
Yeah.
You know, you can certainly do the same thing. I promise you, you can. You know, when you commit to self-mastery and really just stay focused, don't worry about the results. Focus on consistency. You know, whenever I got my license, my heavier licenses, my mentor at the time, he's like, man, you just got to fall in love with it. I had no plans on what I was going to do. I did not know where it was going to go. I did not know where it was going to take me. I just focused on each day at a time. I became 1% better every day. No competition. You're your competition from yesterday.
Yeah.
Did I wake up early? Did I eat right? Did I read more? Did I really read and engage? Did I discipline myself? Because life is a balance between what you should do and what you shouldn't do.
Mm-hmm.
So was I better the day before? And if you were, great. You know, and I was listening to Cat Williams. He's like, man, just think about it. If it's just that one day, if this is the only day that you got, you know, be conscientious of that time frame, but, you know, putting it all on the field. But whenever you kind of statistically add up that percentage, your success in building yourself also compounds, just like money. Yeah. So 1% better every day is 37 times better in a year. Mm-hmm. Now, if you're 10 times better than you were in a year, that's incredible.
That's incredible. Yeah.
So imagine if you're just twice as good as you are today as you are
a year from now.
A year from now. That's incredible. But imagine how that is for him. Imagine how that is for you. So if you're 10 times, 37 times better than you are,
he's the same thing.
Yeah. So
we're pushing each other on a number. Like you said, iron versus iron sharpens iron.
Right. Be the best you for him and be the best you for him.
Yeah, most definitely.
I feel like that's what we do. We're always trying to communicate, asking each other, hey, what you think about this? What you think about this idea, that idea? And like I said, honestly, Roger's helped me out big time because he's a lot more methodical about planning everything out, and I'm just like,
you are a great planner. We noticed that.
Yeah.
I'm like, go, and then that's where it's just like take the go, and then take the methodicalness and mix it together. It's literally like the perfect combination.
The funniest thing about it though is that whenever I talk about David to other people, and we talk about this whole experience that we've been going through, it's like the best way I can put it is like a dog on the leash. And then the person holding the leash saying, let's not go that way. We're going to go there, but let's go around the bushes, go on the sidewalk, let's go here.
Yeah.
And, that's the thing about it, though. Like, we balance each other out so good because I can plan forever, but it's going to take me a while to pull the trigger.
Right.
Yeah, and I'm just like, let's pull the damn trigger already.
Yeah.
Let's just go. And now we're like, okay, we both have this goal, so let's just slow it down. How are we going to get to that goal?
The synergy, man. That's definitely us.
Y'all the same way?
Oh, man. Yeah, because I'm like, let's bet the house. Let's go for it. I'm going. You know what I mean?
It's like, no, I'm going to read this 800-page document first.
Before we sign off on
it. And make sure everything's in order.
And then you go back and look at for it, and they're like, and they want your firstborn.
And you're like, oh, yeah. You're right, let's slow it back down.
Exactly. No, I think
that's funny.
And how old are you guys now, man?
I'm 40. No, I'm just like, I'm 27.
Right on.
I'm 27 as well.
Got it.
How old are you now?
I'll be 40 this year.
Yeah, okay, so he's 40.
I remember when you were like 19.
Yeah, bro, I was young. I remember when you were 28.
Yeah, that's when I started.
Maybe, exactly.
I started about 28, 29. Yeah.
So what year did you leave?
19.
19?
I officially left 19, but what happened is I got on a RA schedule so I could complete all of my licenses, and I went to 974.
Yeah,
so I was like,
remember that.
I gotta really push it here, or I'm gonna, just be in this place. And
974 is the one in
DeSoto,
right?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Behind that, what is it next to that?
By the Walmart.
Yeah. Okay.
Right. So I was able to study. I had I worked overnight. I studied like 6 hours every day. It worked with my schedule. The time that I had daytime schedules on my RA schedule, I worked with clients. Mm-hmm. And it was convenient. I just really had to really focus. It wasn't really a timeline but I saved up all of my vacation time. And then I had like a month or something more than that. I had never taken a sick day. And, you know, I read this book that I think you guys need to read. It's like a staple in entrepreneurship, Think and Grow Rich.
I think that's one of the books I have in my thing, Think and Grow Rich.
Think and Grow Rich. He talks about, you know, a scenario where this army came over to conquer another land, and they sailed over and they burned their ships. And, you know, one of the generals was asking, someone was asking, why are you burning the ships? Because we're fully committed. We don't plan on going back. Mm-hmm. So whenever mind you, I had like 10 sick days, 15, 5 personal days, maybe I think 20, 30, because, I was grandfathered in. So I had like...
So you at least had 5 weeks.
Yeah, 5 weeks, 6 weeks.
Sheesh.
So, when I decided, hey, let me take this first personal day off, I threw all of my uniforms away. I knew I wasn't coming back. The first day, man. That's the first time I took time off. And I called in every single day.
And you were just, I'm not coming back.
I remember seeing those messages on the computer like, we need ARIA coverage. And it's always 974. And I'm like, yo, what's going on with Marcus?
Yeah, I committed. I was like, you know what? I gotta get it in. And at that point, I really kind of vested in my insurance business. Mm-hmm. As far as like really at that point, I opened my own agency. And it was called Insurance Access.
Yeah.
Homeowners, auto insurance, things like that. And just focused on each customer at a time, not focusing on anything else, but focused on what time I woke up, 1% better every day, what client did I work with, finding a source of a business, which was, you still got to have a game plan, writing my list down every day, writing goals down every day, because you can't build a house without a blueprint. And one customer every day led to customers telling other customers, other lenders telling other lenders, reading certain things to where in like a 3-year period, I've, with the help of, running into amazing people. And another book to listen to, this is imperative that you listen to this book, Be Obsessed or Be Average by Grant Cardone. That changed my life. If you don't listen to any other books, this is my top 5. Think and Grow Rich, Be Obsessed or Be Average for entrepreneurs. How to Win and Influence Friends by Dale Carnegie. That's a perfect one. It teaches you how to communicate with anybody, how to be interested in these networking events. I'll go to a networking event and I don't talk about myself. I get interested in everyone in the room, and then when I left, I'm everyone's best friend.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then now there's an influx of interest because people aren't that interesting. I'm not that interesting, but I'm genuinely interested in what you do, because I don't do this.
Yeah.
So in that space, I'm genuinely interested because I don't know the ins and outs, but what it can do, it can share a part of that experience, and I can live in that moment with you. Mm-hmm. And then I can adopt that in every other conversation that I have in this experience. But within a 3-year time horizon, I wasn't focused on building, had no idea. And I think in 1 year, Jazz, when did we really just scale? In 2021, between 2 years, we made over $4 million.
In 2020?
2020, between 2020 and like 2023, we went from like 300,000 to like 5 million.
Jeez.
Yeah, in 2020
Yeah.
we
And revenue?
did.
Revenue, business, millions. Never had seen anything like that before in my life. Wasn't focused on it.
Yeah.
Man.
But it started happening.
But since I had never experienced that, I adopted the philosophies of being obsessed or be average. Understood that this is not my capital. Let me go invest in people.
Yeah.
Let me go invest in, just like you said, iron sharpens iron.
Mm-hmm.
You're better at certain things that he is, and vice versa.
Mm-hmm.
Let me go find the people that are better than me at these things.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So that's
We've
what I
already been
did.
talking about that too. We're already like, yo, we need to get to this point, because once we get to this point, we can hire this person to hire this person to come handle this. And that's why I remember I told Roger this at the beginning, and he looked at me weird when I said it, because it's so funny when I remember it. I was like, yeah, hopefully we get to the point. I told him, he was like, oh, what are our goals? I was like, I want to get to the point where we kind of just micromanage everything. And he kind of looked at me like, what? Micromanage everything? Like, have him do it or have somebody else do it. And I was like, well, that was my goal, is eventually get to that point. It's like you said, we can get to the point where we hire somebody else to do all the editing, have somebody else to set everything up, and now we can just focus on who we're going to bring in next, when's the next one going to be, how's the next episode going to be, and now we can hone in on actually putting good content out, and somebody else is worrying about all the background stuff.
There you go.
And then we can really hone in, because I feel like Roger's going to be a director basically and a producer for
So
everything
honestly,
we're doing.
that's what we're doing. I mean, because, you know, like I'll clock out, come in, and I'm working on the video at 12 p.m. to maybe 2 a.m. You know, get all that stuff working, you know, setting up, doing the editing. I didn't know how to edit until like 2 months ago when I was like, all right, let me dive in, figure out how to do this. I was like, Premiere Pro. I was like, dang, that's what people be using to actually edit stuff. And I'm like, I don't know how to do this. So I started, well, YouTube, Meta AI, how do you do this? How do you do that?
Yeah.
And now, like, you know, I feel like I'm putting out good pieces of work. And the funny thing about it, though, is that we're using iPhones, and I didn't know, like, the footage, you know, the color balance is completely different once you upload it and then upload it to YouTube. And it's like, okay, let me fix that. So it's all, you know, trial and error until I get to a point where it's like, okay, David, we're in a position right now where I can make this happen. And I like how you brought up the whole, you know, you got to give up something for another. I was working out consistently for like 6 months until we started actually going balls deep into this. And it's like, all right, I can't work out right now. I got to make sure I know what I'm doing back here so I can get a better grasp of it, so I can optimize the time that I got, so then I can go back working out.
Yeah.
So that garage, man, dude, oh my God, I got to show you before you leave. The garage is a complete makeover. It used to just be, you know, no paint, nothing. I had equipment in there, dude, mounted on the wall, levelwood, all that, dude. And I did all that right before I told David, hey, let's do a podcast.
Then he doesn't get to use it.
And now I don't get to use it because I'm so obsessed with this.
Right.
And that's the thing about me, though. It's like, if I put my mind onto something, I'm so invested in it that, like, you know, I lose focus on what the next project was.
You lock in.
Yeah. You lock in. And
that's exactly what
you
it
got to
is.
read that book, Be Obsessed or Be Average. And then life is going to be unbalanced. And what happens is that most people don't realize that, you know, that's where they get a lot of the self-pity when it comes to, like, accomplishing things and everything like that. And that's why I came. That's why I came here with you guys. I was like, you know, because I'm not doing anything right now. I'm in the zone. So when she was like, hey, I was like, okay, great. You know, the only other thing that I'm doing, I'm speaking at an event with Frostbank on Tuesday. But
Frostbank?
Yeah.
Oh,
so I was like, you know, I'm not doing anything, but I know you guys' commitment. I knew your work ethic, and I know where this is going to go.
Yeah.
And I'm grateful to be here. So I know whenever you said, hey, we're doing a podcast, I know it's going to the roof. You made your mind up about it. So the confidence that, you know, I already have in who you all are, it was like a rite of passage almost. You kind of have a sense of people or whatnot, but understand it's going to be a little off balance, but success, 95% of it, you're going to be alone.
Yeah.
You know, you're going to be alone. It's going to seem lonely, you know, individually. You know what I mean? But you're working on yourself. So whenever you see someone in a successful place or whatever, you know, a lot of times on social media, it is smoke and mirrors, trust me.
We know.
We're working on trying to just be as authentic as possible. We don't want none of the fake stuff. Like, well, that's why it's like we can get into that off once we finish. But man, we had to go through a roller coaster this past month just because we had this whole idea. Now we're having to restructure the idea. But yeah, it's just a bunch of stuff.
It's downright criminals out there, like scammers. And just like, you know, this is not real. I don't care what your followership look like, you know. But at the same rate, you know, when you feel that genuineness, you understand like how you were like, okay, well, I've been obsessed with this working 12 to 2 a.m. in the morning. I know what that's like.
Yeah,
that's every day for me.
Clocking out, clocking right back in.
I totally understand. It's just like, you know, so even when I, you know, got into that RA schedule, I didn't have a timeline. I just had to pass 5 exams. And I knew 90% of the people who take these exams, they fail them, statistically, globally.
I remember you were talking to me about that too.
Yeah. And I'm grateful, man.
I remember
you were one of my first clients.
I'm about to do that. Yeah, it was Rob Lowe, right?
Rob Logan.
Yeah, Rob Logan. Yeah, and I still have
Rob
a
Logan,
front account and everything, bro.
Good guy.
It was that your mentor?
He was my mentor. He's the one who said, hey, you have to fall in love with this thing.
Yeah. And I remember telling Roger that same thing. I was like, man, just try to enjoy this journey. Because right now, at the very beginning, as us not having theoretically no motion is going to be the best part. Because once we make it, we already made it, and now it's a completely different stress level and everything, and maybe that would be better, but still, like, right now is like the best.
Oh, yeah.
When nobody believes in us, nobody sees the vision that we see, and we know where we're trying to go. Right now is literally the best time. The best, because I'm trying to, like you said, just try to enjoy the journey when we get there.
Yeah.
This is the best part.
This is the best part. This is the best part. And I don't know if you guys listen to any Kobe Bryant quotes or anything like that, but he was just like, winning is the same as losing because it's a lesson in all of it.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And, if I win, great. That was anticipated. It feels good. All the hard work paid off. But if I lose, it's a lesson in that. And, it's something to grow from and everything like that. But no, I'm excited for you guys. I'm excited.
I appreciate you just coming in.
I know, man. It's just
whenever Roger told me, he was like, "Yeah, man, we got to book him on the schedule." I was like, "Oh yeah, he's doing it big." Because if we got to book into his schedule, yeah, he's doing it.
It hadn't been like that, man. And I don't, crazy because people will, because you're growing, every single day. So that 1% better analogy that I gave you. So 37 times you're going to be unrecognizable. So when that compounds with years involved. And then other experiences that you guys will have with other individuals for traveling the world or wherever it's going to take you guys, you're going to be different. You're going to, forecast certain things because at that particular time frame, you've seen certain things in certain areas that you would not have seen if you didn't get out of your comfort zone. If I didn't get out of my comfort zone, I wouldn't be here, which would have led me here, which would have led me here, which is definitely going to change you because now you have a different outlook and a different receptiveness when, no, I don't believe I can do that, or it might work, or does this work? Well, everything works if you work it. If Chet created $1 billion company, we all can.
Yeah.
We all can. It's just literally consistency. Consistently, be obsessed with the average, guys. I want y'all to.
I'm gonna have to read that.
I almost know it verbatim.
Then you over here answering all my questions.
I know.
I was like, what books would you suggest us to read? I'm gonna ask that. Keep that in mind.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be honest with you. I started rolling almost like 30 minutes ago, and I'm like, okay, cool. We got to go ahead and start recording because it's like, man, it's so authentic. Yeah, I'm gonna leave it like that. It's so authentic, man, because like we're just like, I'm like. I looked at this like, God damn.
And we already just catching up.
I know.
That's
man, dude. But like,
honestly, we should leave it like this.
I'm gonna leave it like that.
We can get right into it right now, and then do.
Nah. This is it, bro. It's going raw. No intro, bro. It's going raw. Whatever. People gonna watch that. They're gonna be like, dang.
We're straight into it. That's funny though.
Should I put these on?
Nah. You're good. That was more for your if you wanted to hear. But since we're not even wearing them, I mean, Mike's rolling for 20 minutes. I'm like, it's cool. But man, dude, no. Okay, so like I talk about you every day at work, or every once in a while I see somebody who I know knows you, and I'm like, yeah, you talked to Marcus. Oh, which one? He used to be on one ear for like a long time, tall, swole. Good smile. He's like, oh yeah, I remember him. I was like, well, this is him now. And I show him your Instagram. They're like, what? I was like, they're just blown away, man.
Yeah, it's like you said, unrecognizable.
Yeah,
exactly.
And that happened that wasn't planned, man. That was not planned at all. I spent, our business invested in hundreds of thousands of dollars for marketing research, looking for opportunities to gain ground, apply some of those principles that are in Be Obsessed or Be Average, because what it does is it creates an emotional space and a rested assurance that, okay, this person does, and it's more practical. He talks about, hey, don't worry about, people not believing in your goals. Don't worry about, you're in your small circle, like your parents or the people who, the doubters, the naysayers. He's like, there's a difference between naysayers and there's a difference between haters. Your naysayers, they want the best for you. Your mom or your dad, Roger, don't do this, because they want to protect you, but they don't know about what's going on out here. They haven't had the experience. Haters are going to hate from a distance. They don't really they're not going to do anything productive because their energy is focused on you. You know what I mean? So, but
which is bad.
Which is good. You know,
it's just the fact that they're not content with themselves.
Oh,
That
bad
they
for
have to
them.
focus on you.
Yeah.
Is what I'm saying. That's the bad part about it, is where people are so worried about you instead of worried about themselves. And if they would just worry about themselves, they'd be in a better position. But people are just so worried about everything else going on. It's just, I was about to get into it right now too about what we were just talking about.
We're not trying to name drop,
Yeah,
but
we're not trying to name drop.
I want to know what's haters out there. I know. I mean, the thing about it, a lot of people are probably hating on you guys because the energy of y'all's ambition.
Mm-hmm.
They may not know exactly what you all are doing at all, but they understand that it's a reflection of what they're not doing. So they're almost insecure of it, not understanding that you could really do this too. We all have a gift. If you just spend your time doing this versus doing that, that's the trade-off. Hey, let me sacrifice this, for the life I want. And, if I have a blueprint from someone who's done it before, you don't have to really know your mentors. You'll outgrow your mentors because I've exhausted all of the information that I got from Rod.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? I went to another place, and then I got the rested assurance from some of those books to take calculated risk. And, it's all risky. The Jim Rohn is a good one to listen to on a daily basis for affirmations. I have almost like a ritual. I wake up, as soon as I wake up, I hit some Motiversity. It's like a channel on YouTube, or I listen to Jim Rohn, and he states that the pain of success, the pain of regret weighs ounces, and the pain of growing weighs ounces. The pain of regret weighs tons. Because you'll never get that time back. We all feel like we have
a lot of time. We really don't have a lot of time.
So when I had to go balls to wall with getting all of my licenses and focus and everything like that, and then that was just the foundation before I got to the entrepreneurial space. I had to get the licenses and everything like that, but I had to overcome myself and then experience the people before I could kind of be more efficient with who I spent my time with, or who I was, respected in the industry to where my time was efficiently used. So with that particular time frame, it's like, if I didn't get out of that uncomfortable space, I'm gonna look up and I'm still in the same place at 40 where I was at 28.
Yeah.
And that time will go by quickly because you have to learn, about yourself first, and you have to really take that real personal accountability. And once you do that, that's where that confidence comes, because okay, I'm get up and do it. And then take that fuel that the haters give you, take that to the gym. Take that to, every time I do content, you guys, I'm fresh off of maybe 13 hours of work. I'm exhausted when I'm actually doing this content. And I went through video guys, I went to conferences, I went through camera people that I've worked with until I got down to where it's more efficient to where I can do it in-house. But I exhausted all of those resources to get to one space. And you're gonna do that until you edify it and then get a program going.
Yeah, that's what we were talking about before, just trying to get a system lined up. Because now once we get the system in place, it's like kind of like I was telling him with QT, you can plug and play anybody into that system because the system's already working. It's a well-oiled machine. Just put a new guy in there and they're going to keep the system working. So that's what I was trying to say with Rogers. Eventually, if we create this system, later on we can find an editor to come in, and now we just say, hey, do this, focus on this. We got all the other stuff, and just keep the system rolling. But it's just we're looking so much more ahead that we're already, like we said, just let the plan just play out now. Now we can't just do nothing but just let time do its course,
right? So
that all the work we've already been putting in these past 2-3 weeks is already it's already laid out.
Yeah.
And it's funny though that you bring that up, because it's it doesn't even feel like a month for me. It feels like I've been doing this a while as far as the workload goes. The people that we've brought on so far, and I mean we're shooting 2-3 episodes a week.
That's incredible.
Yeah, just to be able to have content lined up, and then we can play it around. And it's funny because we never announce this is episode number this.
Yeah.
Because
we just don't know where that person is going to come in our system.
Right. And you'll have a different audience too in the next.
That's the whole point.
Yeah.
We're trying to really gravitate to as many people as possible, no matter where you are, what age, and no matter what ethnicity you are. We're trying to get it to everybody, everybody, because everybody can benefit off of what we're trying to give to everybody, and that's why we can strongly feel like we can, like you said, we can really skyrocket this because we're targeting everyone, not just a specific niche of people. It's like everybody can take this and run with it. Whether you're just a school teacher, you could be the best school teacher in your whole district by just having that 1% better every single day. Because you would think, oh, if I'm a teacher, I already went to school, I already got my degree, but you can still get smarter. You can still get wiser. And why does it just have to stop as you just got your degree? It can be so much further. Now you're teaching these kids valuable lessons that they can take in life and move it forward, because a lot of teachers don't do that. So now you could be the top of your class of teachers just by wanting to be better individual.
Yeah.
But people, they cap themselves out off that, oh, I got where I want to be. I'm going to just stay here. I'm good here. This is where I'm going to relax at.
I'm done learning.
Yeah, I'm done learning. And you should be never done learning, theoretically. I mean, how much information have you took in since you finished your all your courses and stuff, and you officially went in? How many mentors have you had?
A ton. And you don't have to know your mentors. I just absorb their content, online. A lot of it's, advising me to go to conferences, to get smarter. Every day is an opportunity to get smarter. Information is changing, so you only grow chronologically. You grow chronologically, but you only scale and grow mentally. Yeah. You know what I mean? So information is infinite. And I'm reading this book called The Psychology of Money. Read it like 3 times.
I think I've seen that one.
It's a good book, So it kind of plays into the fact that everything, 80% of what you know is not actually how the world is going. You know what I mean? So understanding that, me dealing with you, interacting with you, you've had your own experiences in your upbringing that was influenced by your parents' upbringing based on the economy that they grew up in and their relationship to money and the emotional, pool that influences their decisions. So when people say, hey, especially me being in a financial space as a financial advisor, they're like, okay, well, hey, should I do this is this the best investment for this? It's all customizable because I don't know what's important to you in the moment to where you're impulsive or, what your ego is attached to you that may influence a certain purchase. Yeah. You know what I mean? Or your risk tolerance based on the economy that you grew up in around the time frame. Was there inflation at the time, or did your mom or dad impose their ideas based on the scarcity of how they felt whenever they grew up, or were they like, hey, you should invest, or did they educate you and rear you in a certain space that gave you a different outlook, So your relationship to money and your ability to, invest in yourself or invest period dictates a lot of that. So you kind of got to look at, take from every circumstance. That's why reading and understanding, that educational aspect, that's just the start, getting the credential. You still have to develop as a person, as an individual. Like I said, imagine if each individual in the operation was 10 times better, twice as good. Imagine how good that operation would be. Yeah. Imagine if you were twice as good as budgeting or financing, or twice as good as, that's going to influence that. And what happens is, as you continue to grow individually, and it's kind of uncomfortable, but you'll start acknowledging the lack of growth in individuals that you've interacted with in a time capsule. And they may get uncomfortable because, you may decide, hey, look, this is not the best space to use my time. Yeah. We're not friends anymore, so to say. And I hate that there's an emotional pull, but the reality of life is that things are either good for you or bad for you. There's no in between. Yeah. People are either good for you or bad for you. And then you realize that, okay, when I'm focused on the efficiency of my time and my mortality, when I turn that hourglass over and the sand is pouring out, when I don't know when I'm going to leave this earth, because people think that they have a bunch of time, or the time that you have predicated to get certain things done, I need to be more focused on what's going to benefit me and, you know, the people around me. So to be selfishly focused on you is only going to benefit those around you. It's going to create a level of ambition for you. If you were to do the same thing, continue what you're doing for him, because it's like, man, I don't want to let him down. Let me get better and bring a new idea. Let me be better this week and bring a new idea to it. Matter of fact, let me consciously track myself too. You know what I mean? Let me put a blueprint on it. Let me get better every day. So I think that, especially with investing in my space, is the most impactful thing to investing is understanding your time capsule, understanding your time. Yeah.
And the fact that you bring that up, I'm listening to it, and I'm just in my head, I'm just playing over my whole like upbringing from when I was in high school to maybe 3 or 4 years after that, where like I took myself at Oak Cliff, and I was like, okay, these people are on a completely different place in life where I don't want to be associated. Dude, I was 16, 17, 18, hanging out with everybody that was in that in my community over there, where we would just, you know, smoke, drink, ride around, whatever. And I got to a point where I was just like, man, I don't want to do this anymore. I need to get out the hood.
Yeah.
And it's funny because you're bringing it up and the way you're talking about it, I'm just like, I did all of that. I did all of that without even like, you know, putting too much thought into it. Because, oh yeah, I just moved out of there. But the fact that you're bringing it up, it's just like, I really did everything Marcus said, you know, you have to do with the people that are bad in your life.
Yeah.
You know, either bad or good, which makes sense because then, you know, bringing it full circle, when I bought a house like 4 years ago, I'm just like, okay, what's next? And I'm just waiting for that next challenge because, you know, growing up, it was getting out of the hood. Then, okay, now I'm out of the hood. I'm living in the suburbs. Okay, what's next? All right, get a house. And then to everybody else, it's like, oh, getting a house is kind of like their end game.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, now I got a house. And I'm like, dang, what do I do now?
What's the next step?
Then it's just, man, for like the longest, it was just me thinking to myself, I'm like, I need to figure out something else to do. Because realistically, I don't want to work where I work at now forever. You know, everyone's like, oh, I mean, it's a safe plan.
Yeah.
It's definitely a safe plan. They're going to take care of you, you know, as far as, you know, 401k and all that goes. But I keep looking at myself, I'm like, man, I see all these people in their mid 40s, 50s. I'm like, I don't want to be here that long, you know, but, you know, I'll keep my head down, do the work, and then, you know, coming full circle with this whole next endeavor, I'm like, okay, I need to figure out who I need to bring onto my team. So, and that's when we reached out to David, and then there was another individual that we brought on too. And it didn't even take that long to notice that we weren't all on the same wavelength. But me looking outside in from the, you know, that their relationship, I can already tell. I was like, oh, they're not seeing eye to eye, and they're not going to see eye to eye. But because of that emotional attachment that, you know, these two individuals had, I'm like, I got to let this play out. You know, this has to play out so, you know, this individual can learn what I'm already observing just on the dynamic of these two people.
It's crazy you say that too, because I remember I tell one of my friends, I tell him all the time, I'm like, yo, I don't hang out with nobody. And it's because if we're saying the mindsets of the people around me, I'm just like, I don't need to hang out with y'all. I don't need to hang out with none of y'all. I don't need to go out to the club. I don't need to going out to eat all these places. I don't need to just go have a drink. I'll just focus on myself and hone in. And that's like when me and him were talking about it, he's like, oh, you're not active on social media. I'm like, I don't need to be, because social media is literally, it's all like you were saying, it's all fabricated. It's all fake. We're just doing highlights of our lives, but that's not reality. Reality is the ups and downs, what you got to go through, everything like that. And I'm just like, that's what I hate, is the narrative of social media. And that's the main reason why it's just like, don't hang out with nobody. Because a lot of people don't have the same goals that I'm going to have, because they're not entrepreneurs. Right. If they are, they're in a different space. And even then, like Roger's saying, they're capping themselves out at, okay, this is where I want to get. Once I get there, that's it. And like we're saying, a lot of people you're talking about that's their security. Their security is like, oh, I'm capped out here. This is cool. I'm good. I don't need nothing more. My kids are fine. I got the house. I got the car. That's it. But that can't be enough, because then you're just settling at that point. Why just wait for the wait? Why are you just waiting for the sand to hit the bottom of the thing? That's all you're waiting for at that point. There's no drive no more. Nothing. So like, the main question I ask a lot of people, which Roger is gonna ask you, but like, what's your 5-year goal? is what I like to ask everybody, especially talking to women and dating, is like, what's your 5-year goal? Because I need to make sure we're trying to go to the same destination. Because if you're trying to go this way and I'm trying to go this way, it's like, we're not even on the same track. Just keep it moving. And even at this point, it's just like, don't even worry about dating. It's just hone in on more of yourself. That time you're spending on dating and going on dates and stuff like that, you could just be putting it to yourself. Like the idea I seen, they're like, oh, if you go on a date, you spend $100, $200. That $100, $200 could have went to the Audible, spending all this money on books instead of going on that date. That one date could have been 5, 10 books you just bought. And now you just gave yourself all this knowledge, but no, you'd rather spend it on the date. So I'm just like, let's just cut all that out. Let's not go out. Let's not worry about women. Let's not do this. Let's just hone in on what we got to hone in on. And then it starts all flowing. But I remember, it's funny you even had Mac there. I heard him saying a song. He goes, I learned the more work you put in, the faster the results. And I'm just like, yeah, that makes so. And I remember I heard this song so many times, and I just heard him say this the other day, and I was like, damn, how does that just hit me now that he said that? I was like, oh, that's such a good quote. The more work you put in, the faster the results are gonna come. And that's just the thing, is now with us just staying consistent, the results are gonna come. But we don't have to worry about the results, because if we just stay consistent, it's gonna happen organically.
Yeah.
Delayed gratification.
Delayed gratification. That's why the gym is so key, because working out all these times, you're not really seeing nothing, and then everybody else, once they don't see you for 3 months, they're like, oh, yo, you're getting this, you're getting that. You're like, damn, I guess I am. I didn't even realize it.
And the whole Spider-Man song playing in the background, like.
Oh crap! I didn't even realize I was getting like this.
Yeah, and it's a level of discipline too. Like that self mastery that comes into place. That's one thing that the gym teaches you. That's why you can jump in this and stay focused, because you've worked out. You've been at the gym.
Yeah.
You're familiar with commitment, and what's going to bridge that gap between okay, what's next is that self education, that self listening to books, listening to podcasts, listening to other leaders in your industry. And what happens is that you'll start seeing your mentors or people that you looked up to, you'll start getting in the same rooms as they are, and you start realizing that they've got to a plateau and they've settled, and you're still ascending. And then what it'll do sometimes, it'll almost kind of break your heart a little bit, because you're like, okay, I've admired this person, and my character building and my work ethic is pure and genuine, because I know that I have to work for everything, and I'm focused on that. And I watch them settle, and I watch them not take a risk, not necessarily a risk, but a self-assured decision on themselves. I'm like, okay, we're doing this. Okay, you meet them, they're like, okay, let's do this together. And they're like kind of reluctant. They're like, I saw more of you. But also what'll happen is that you'll have people that that you care for and love that will resent you. And it's unfortunate to hear, but I'm just kind of giving you some perspective, and your crowd will follow you, as far as like the woman that you're looking for in your life. That'll be gravitated, that'll be attracted to you, and at that point you'll have an opportunity to decide, okay, does this align with my goals? Do your goals align with mine? And she's not going to be superficial on dating and taking things out. She'll believe in where y'all are going. It won't be temporary. But these people, they won't know you anymore. And the person that they fell in love with and that they love, I've had people curse me out in text messages because, and we've never had a falling out. I never called them or anything like that. We never had I just got involved in what I was doing. So the time that I was spending to, be focused, they took that as, a deliberate disregard when it wasn't, or, I've even had people say, I'm not that he's not that busy. I've ran a business before. They don't really understand just the overwhelming, commitment to be focused with my time. And the social media, I didn't even know about social media until, I didn't know what Instagram was until like 2019, until I left QT. I didn't have an iPhone.
Man, that's crazy.
I remember that.
I remember that. I
didn't have an iPhone.
Android.
Yeah, I was like, so I didn't even have the social media distraction. I didn't even know what it was.
Yeah.
So, but since we do have that information there, that's going to bridge the gap on what's next for you, because you guys are in your 20s, man.
Yeah.
Y'all are, I'm telling you, like, just people don't even wake up until they're in their 30s. I was at QT and I start realizing that I was kind of getting a little too comfortable.
Mm-hmm.
And then I started realizing that, okay, I'm on my feet every day.
Yeah.
This is cool. I work out, but at this point, I'm working out to be able to be physically fit to do this job.
Mm-hmm.
How long can I do this? I know I could take this anywhere with me and earn. Everyone else is doing it.
Yeah.
I could take this anywhere, and I don't want to be in that space. Not saying it's not a good job. Not saying it's not safe, but just like you mentioned, when people start learning, majority of people die at 21 and 25 and wait till like 65 to be buried.
Mm.
They just settle. Imagine you on a highway, pacing through the life of highway, as you start building, because as you do the work, the success is inevitable to come.
Yeah.
It's the law of averages. When you really think about the law of averages, if you do something so many times, eventually you're gonna get a yes.
Mm-hmm.
That's a win. Your first yes is a win.
Yeah.
Eventually you're gonna you edify that. How do we get to that? We got to that yes in 25 times. Now we're getting to the yes in 10 times. Now we're knocking it out of the park.
Yeah.
Now we created a system to teach somebody else to do this. Now we're getting in another space. So now you're going down the highways of life in your lane, because you can only create your lane and there's no traffic. I promise you, if no matter what you do, whatever's attracted to you is going to be attracted for you. But on the highways, think about the cattle that are just sitting there.
Mm-hmm.
Those are the majority of people who settle on life, and they're just waiting to be carried off to slaughter to be eaten.
That's
They're
true.
grazing over the leftovers.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And really, if they just focused on themselves, after a while, like you did this, you did, and we do it when we drive every day. You're not focused on, okay, I'm gonna step out and get into my car on faith and start the car and see if I make it to my destination.
Yeah.
I'm confident. in
Yeah,
what
you
you're
already
doing.
know you're gonna get
Yeah,
there.
I'm on my phone as I'm driving.
For real, you know you
But
get
watch the
there.
whole video. Like, so,
You got the radio on, the video on, and you're driving.
Exactly. So imagine it's the same way in business, man. It's the same way in business. You'll feel shackled if you're like, okay, you gotta walk over here. Hell no, I'm jumping in the car and going.
Mm.
That's the same way, when you get to that space where you guys are committed, you've built so much within what you're doing and it's grown so much, you're gonna feel shackled at QT.
Mm-hmm.
I gotta get it. I'm not walking to this destination. That's too far. You know what I mean? And I got too much going on in this space now. So at that point, you have to go. That's why I was like, okay, and it was a commitment to myself. And I tell people that I threw those uniforms away because I was like, okay, if I get too comfortable, next thing you know, just like being in the gym, like say you have a fitness goal to lift 200 pounds, if you haven't worked that muscle of entrepreneurship, that's like going into the gym, never working out, getting under 225 and saying, hit it.
Oh,
Now I'm 38 years old or 37 years old, and I'm scared to get out into these waters, get up under that weight of entrepreneur. And I just rock the rest of my life adopting the excuse because you're surrounded around the people who think like you.
Yeah.
And that's going to influence you. And you're like, okay, this is safe. But you're really unsatisfied because nothing satisfies you. No material things will satisfy you. No anything will satisfy you like personal progress. Yeah. Nothing will. That's the most gratifying thing in the world, and I've experienced kind of like getting the things that I wanted, from vehicles to whatever, eating great foods, doing whatever. Nothing satisfies you through personal progress. And then, it builds to the narrative of if you're around 5 people that are doing 5 criminals, you're going to be the 6th.
Yeah.
You're around 5 broke people, you're going to be and you don't have to be around people. Absorb their content, the leaders in the space, and really that will influence you. And what will happen is that when you get to these events, oh man, I get to the events. I haven't been around anybody in months. I'm ready to apply this information that I got from these books.
Yep.
I'm in this thing. Nobody's seen me. I've been working out. I feel good. I'm confident.
Yep.
You know what? Let me add some influence to it. Let me find a camera guy and you know, have him create an ambiance. So everywhere I went for like a couple years, I had 2 camera guys on me. So no one planned that, but this is in my inner circle.
Yeah, that's dope.
That's the only way you've seen any of these videos
Mhm.
because I'm mobbing through the crowd, applying all of this information. But what people don't realize, I'm in these events, but they don't realize I've been up since 4 a.m. in the morning. I went to the gym.
Yeah.
I busted my tail. I'm leaving work. I'm really exhausted.
Mhm.
Now I'm getting with my team. I'm investing in the content, and I've invested in those books. So now instead of it being about me, I made it about everyone else
Mhm.
in that environment. So understand in business for what you guys are doing, if you give enough people what they want, you'll never have to worry about what you need.
Yeah, I like that. Ooh, that's a good one.
Man.
That's such a key thing for us. That's what we've been
Yeah.
focused on. Is like our whole thing is this whole thing. This right here.
Yeah.
This,
Oh, that's why. I like
it's bigger. Everything we're doing is bigger than just this right here.
Discussion. I love it.
Is bigger than just this right here. Yeah, it's bigger than that.
dope.
It's even behind your head. Yeah.
Okay. Oh, my bad. I don't even-
Okay, so we did like 2 logos. We went ahead and just threw up the alternate logo
Yeah.
just for you, man.
That's why. Thank you, man. I feel so honored.
Yeah,
man,
see,
to be
it's
here.
just like everything we know is bigger than us. Like that's why,
Yeah.
like Rogers. I like Rogers. What's the intro for this? You say all the time.
Okay, welcome back to another episode of Direct Discussion. It's a podcast deep diving with individuals just like you.
And that's the perfect thing because we're all human.
Yeah.
And it's just like you were just somebody else. I mean, somebody else was you at 28.
Yeah.
And now what do they need to get to be where you're at 40? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
They got to just put the groundwork in. And that was our whole main thing is just like I told him too. I was like, before we can really do certain things, let's put the groundwork in. And like this guy, Frank, the guy we had on before, Frank, he told us, he said, someone's always watching. And it's so key because at the beginning there's this guy we want to get on to come onto the pod, and I guess we're just too soon in getting started that he hasn't maybe taken us serious yet, but we know he's watching.
Right.
So if we just stay consistent,
Yeah.
the time's gonna come where he's gonna say, you guys have finally put the work in. I see it now. Y'all are consistent for months on months on months. I think it's time I can finally come on. And that's going to be the gratification for us. Like you just said right there, where it's like, we know we put the self-growth in to where we put the work in. And now the gratification is he finally comes on.
Yeah.
And whatever the case is. And now it's just like, that's the result we're looking for. But still, even then, that's not it. That's just the first step. And then there's so many other people after that are just coming along that we already have an idea of. And it's just like you just said, put the groundwork in, and it's gonna eventually. Don't worry about the results because it's all gonna just flow after that.
You may have to decide if you guys want them on at the certain time.
Uh-huh.
And that's the thing about it, like, because, you know, I've interacted with you guys, I've worked with you guys, I know you guys. So, you know, I understand that once you guys committed to something, it's already material. We all have our time.
Mm-hmm.
We all have our time. That's gonna happen so many times, you know, when people that you admire and you're gonna like, I want that person on the show, and then, or I want to do business with that person. And I'll give you some insight too. You'll do business with some of these people and you'll realize that they may turn you off.
Mm-hmm.
Like, okay, I thought you were better than that.
Yeah,
you know what I
yeah.
mean? Or I thought we had similar work ethic or
Mhm.
whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
And then at that point, you'll realize that, okay, it's a camaraderie. I'm putting in my own work. I know we're confident in what we're doing. People are watching.
Mm-hmm.
Don't worry about it. They're always going to watch.
Yeah.
You know, they're going to report that you're doing a great job, or they're going to have their own opinion about it. But when you make, you know, things, especially in this space or in any entrepreneurial space, market research, make it about them or whatever that case, you guys will, that's really the epitome of business. People buy what they don't want to do. People,
that makes sense.
yeah.
And you know what? That's also a big thing about this whole experience too, because back to what David said about, you know, this being bigger than us, it really is, because we could be here sitting on the mic talking about each other for, you know, countless episodes, but who really wants to hear two nobodies talk?
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, I'm sure there's a audience for, you know, entertainment in that space, but I just, you know, I didn't feel right doing that with David because I was like, man, if we're gonna do this, let's put some value into this world. Let's bring on people who can, you know, share their opinions, share their light on different subjects as far as insurance, entrepreneurship, people who go crazy in the gym. You know, I got a little brother, he's 20. This dude's been detailing for like 4 years. He dropped out of high school and he's went straight detailing. He's detailing cars for multi-millionaires in DFW. And they invite him to dinner over to his house and all that, and it's crazy. He gets back home, he's at my mom's house, and it's a completely different world.
Yeah.
Right.
But, you know, the whole thing about it, though, is that, you know, I know that there's going to be somebody watching who's interested in insurance or who can, you know, sort of relate to XYZ on the show and be like, man, I can resonate with some of the things he's saying. Because the same way I can resonate with what you're saying, and I'm like, I've went through this. You know, I just don't reflect enough, you know, into myself and be like, okay, I've been through all this, but hearing you speak it, it's like, wow, okay, I remember this happening, I remember that happening, I remember that happening. And that whole experience is what we're trying to provide to the people who are actually watching. You know, because you don't want, like, you know, when we're doing this, you know, where it's supposed to be like one half entertainment, one half, you know, more seriousness, some of those people did fall off. And, you know, which is fine because, like, at the end of the day, like, this message that we're trying to bring onto the platform and onto, like, the world essentially is listen to these people. Yes, you have these mentors who, like, Robert Kiyosaki, PBD, you know, just bigger. And, like, at this point, they're, like, I mean, I'm not going to hear and put them, like, on the same level as Scott, but these guys are, like, A-tier people. Why not listen to people in your community that are, you know, closer to you as far as growth, you know? Yeah, maybe you haven't started anything, but if, you know, you listen to somebody up here, then you can probably resonate better with somebody who's up here than to somebody who's way up here and who are, like, miles and, like, leagues ahead of you from where you're at.
Yeah, I think if you just see somebody around you that you, I don't want to say you look up to, but you see somebody you don't know doing something that you want to do, and then they're telling you, hey, you should do this, you should do this, that might give them the confidence to say, you know what, I'm going to take that leap of faith. I'm going to take that risk now to go start my own business that I've always wanted to start. I see him do it. I seen her do it. I think I can finally take that leap now. And that's kind of what we're trying to give is just that mentorship, because a lot of people, even now, I was thinking about it too. It's like, I don't have a mentor, like somebody I can just say, hey, what is this? What is that? What is this? And then there's nobody I can call on. You know what I'm saying? Like you had Rob to just give you that little bit of information you need to just keep going, like you said. But at a certain point, you cap out, and then you just go to the next one and the next one. There's not too many of those. Right. So now with this platform, everybody we're bringing on could theoretically be a mentor to somebody else that's trying to get into that space that they're trying to get into, whether it's singing, acting, music, insurance, tattooing, all real estate, all the people we're trying to bring on. There's so many different avenues people can take. They just need to find the right mentors. And if you see somebody else from your area make it, then maybe it gives them the confidence, oh, I can do it too. Yeah. And a lot of people are just like what we say is crabs in a bucket. Everybody doesn't want to help the next person out. Me and Roger are really like honed in on, we want to just help everybody. Yeah. If you want to ask us, hey, how do you start a podcast? We can tell you how to do it, but we know after that we give you the information, you got to go do the groundwork to make sure it actually does what it needs to do. Right. We can tell you what you can do. It's like the perfect analogy is you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink. Yeah. And that's the perfect analogy. And that's why I like giving people the advice and stuff or whatever they need, because it's like, I'll give you the information, but now you got to take the information and work the information. You got to work the plan.
You know the statistic on people who actually purchase programs and actually complete them? You know, guess the statistics on people who actually complete it.
That actually complete it?
Who buy like let's say $3,000 program.
Jeez.
Of course.
That's crazy.
7%.
No.
That actually complete
it. You hit the
one.
nail on the head.
7%?
7% actually completed. So now, it's even less than that who actually apply it.
Yeah.
So what I've learned in that emotional space to want to ensure that everyone can do great and be good and I can lend my hand to you is that that confidence within themselves to stay consistent, that's in that 7%. the confidence to complete it. That's in that 7%. Now, for me, not to be, rude or anything, it's more advantageous to me statistically to invest in myself and produce those results to be an inspiration that way in order to create a platform.
Lead by example.
From hiring people to just believing in people, a lot of my direct employees, I just believed in them, I invested in them, and I just wanted to motivate them every single day in addition to but they were only gonna do what they were gonna do.
What they
wanted to do. Whenever I decided to say, you know what, and I did that for up until January, this January. Whenever I said, hey, look, let me just focus on me. Let me focus on building something, and then that can be that light or that inspiration or whatever. When I focus on that, not really looking for any type of light or anything like that. When I served the people that needed to be served, instead of depleting some of that energy to motivate people, because when you motivate people, they gotta stay motivated unless they're internally motivated. Now you're exhausted, pumping them up. Now that's taking away time for what you could be using, because
for yourself.
Imagine that. Remember that ride that we're taking on the highway? Imagine stopping. You have a 6-hour time limit to get somewhere. Imagine stopping for 2 hours to motivate. You're gonna be late.
Yeah, you're gonna be late.
And that's years in your life.
Yeah.
That's compounded growth.
That's a good way to look at it.
You're gonna be late. So it's like, you know what? When I get there, and the proverbial people that made it, we're all the same. When you get there, they just stuck to their journey.
Yeah.
And so whenever you add these pieces to the puzzle that make you more efficient, to where now, okay, Roger understands how to edit a video, precisely edit it. You know exactly how you want it. Bring another expert in here that you're confident within y'all's budget, to where, oh, he can actually do this better than me in a longer time frame, but I know how I want it. Well, you just did that. And then added that on top of that? Oh, great. I have more time to do this. And that's one thing that I had to learn in my business, which gave me some time. And I got that from information. You're going to be a generalist in your business the first few years, because now you got to educate yourself. You got to build yourself. You got to commit to the mission. You're going to generally do everything until you now you're going to start bringing in experts to replace. So the main thing is that you want to fire yourself from as many positions as your budget will allow, and get the information from going through conferences, to be able to get just an inkling. I went to conferences, I spent, time and energy, and I got one piece of information, through all of the interactions that changed the trajectory of my company and my business, my life, because I was told to go do this. I sought after it, found that one piece. That's what I was looking for, and it changed everything. It was a lot of different minutiae, even like books. You can read a bunch of books and maybe just one line, that's it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But what happens is that at that particular time, you start realizing how the people who've grown and scaled, they applied the same principle. And then now you're reading even more, because you're a little bit more hungry, because now you're seeing that success gap close from just a physical grind, because you're used to doing that. I'm used to being on the ground and, cleaning grills or whatever. I'll, clean a toilet. I don't care.
Mopping.
Yeah. So now you're at a place to where, you get to certain places and it happened quicker than possible. They're recognizing, and you're here, folks. You're like, man, that's $3 million, $5 million. Wow. Okay, great. But you're still here. I'll still clean. Can I get the door for you? I don't care. Look, I clean a toilet. It doesn't matter to me. You know what I mean? So the people are even treating you differently. And you're like, but the people, the real, committed people understand that journey, and they'll understand that, okay, you're just like me, or they'll recognize, okay, you're just in that stage. You're just in chapter 3. You're going to be at, chapter 100 or whatever. Yeah. Because your work ethic. So it's not okay, I'm too good for you or anything like that. But you start realizing that, let me edify my journey, because I want to get here quicker.
Yeah.
And the fact that you guys are in your 20s, remember, I started really going hard, really kind of focusing in my mid 30s. You know what I mean? And it happened quickly within and I wasn't planning for it. I wasn't planning for the social media. I didn't even know about social media. I wasn't planning for to scale the business. They said that statistically, when we scaled the business in that 3-year span, that's the equivalent of scaling that business in 20 years.
Sheesh.
Statistically, most agents don't get there until 20 years. So, but I had my head down. I wasn't caring about none of that. Like each person I just, was in that moment with that one customer, honed my skills to be a lot more efficient within that time frame. Because if you can communicate a lot more efficient within like a minute or a 5-minute time frame, you can be better. So I created scripts and I duplicated that stuff and I shared it with my team. So I duplicated myself in them because even though I would like to micromanage, but at a certain point I gotta let go because that young lady talking to an agent who's a young lady, she's not gonna relate to her like she would relate to me. I gotta understand that. I get that information in the education. I release the reins. Now I can go do other stuff, and now it's an operation. You know what I mean? And it happened quicker because my emotional block was removed because I read a book. That took me to another space mentally. So of course I'm different when I interact with someone who I hadn't seen because they don't understand. They haven't taken the chances. Time doesn't mature you. It's what your experiences mature you, what you have to overcome. You could be 65 years old and, mentally, you stop growing. I got my education. I'm a teacher. I went to school back in, life is different. It's a whole nother world since you went to school. Now you're in this box around the same amount of people who are doing the exact same thing. So, when you realize that you do have the opportunity to impact lives, we all have a purpose. You start diving into what you can offer, what you can offer other people. What can I offer to bring people together? And then, all of the wants that you ideally wanted, you realize some of the stuff I'm not even interested in anymore. You know what I mean? I used to do that and it was fun at the time, but I'm so committed to this lifestyle, I can't even do that anymore. But, in any discipline, man, any business, any discipline, self-mastery is the key in, being humble and understanding that each opportunity that we have to experience somebody is really an opportunity to, learn. I'm talking.
Yeah.
We're learning. We're taking it all in.
I appreciate it. Most of my time, because I'm a financial advisor by trade. I'm an investment banker by license. We invest with all of the large cap industries in the world, like Charles Schwab, Fidelity, you name it. All of the platforms we use. Primerica. I used it. We worked with them for a while. Good opportunities, but I spend most of my time listening, most of my time uncovering certain questions that will lead me to an observation. So in any business, we always look at doctors as just, a renowned career, and they have to give a diagnosis. So in order to give a diagnosis, you have to know what's wrong, right? So in any business, you have to dissect the problem in order for you to be able to
fix it.
So I spend my time asking qualified, open-ended questions in everything that I deal with. So the more questions that you ask in a circumstance, whenever you're focused, and it can be an indirect question, and an action that you take, or it could be a direct question. But what happens is that you're controlling the circumstance because now you're tailoring the questions to get you to the end result that you want. And now the person who's actually communicating, you probably heard this in 48 Laws of Power, the person who's talking the most is in the least amount of control.
Because we're learning everything from it,
Oh my God, that's crazy.
Hey, I wanted to ask you too, real quick, just to pivot off that a little bit. How did you? What was the main thing that took you from the 500,000, like you said, in revenue to that 3 to 5 million?
I don't even know. You know what? It was concentrating on efficiency.
Mm.
I had everyone in our organization read this book called The 12-Week Year. That's a good book, The 12-Week Year. So where we became more efficient in tracking, keeping track on how many people that we were talking to, how efficient those conversations were, the quality of individuals that we were talking to, the lead source on where they were talking. We broke it down to a science, almost to the number, to the daily number. So what we were getting in a particular time. And we said the premise is to be as effective to where you're not road weary, because people will set a goal, okay, New Year's, and then in between New Year's and the first of the year and December 31st, what's happening between that? Besides, okay, I feel like I want to get that going, besides breaking it down from day to day, hour by hour, mid-time, tracking what do we do? How do we do? It's 12 o'clock. We've been here 3 hours. What happened? How much money did we make? Who did we talk to? What did you say when you were on the phone with them? This is a customer complaint. Let me put it on speakerphone so everyone can listen to it, so we can, work through objections, so we can be a little bit more efficient in our day. You know what I mean?
Sense.
So now we can focus on, and then I had to, like I said, it all boils down to your personalized self-mastery. I start focusing on what am I putting in my body? How am I sluggish? How alert am I when I'm actually in the thick of time? What are my majors and minors? When I'm talking about majors and minors, what am I spending my major time? What's my major time? What's my minor time? Major time, minor time, looking for a client. Minor time, preparing for the client. Major time, in the presence of the client.
Yeah.
Where's my 90% of my major time going? So let me spend majority of my day on my major time. How does that impact the bottom line?
Yeah.
How are the people in my organization, where's their time at? Matter of fact, let's dive into their lifestyle. What are you guys eating? You know what I mean? Like, I just started taking sea moss. It's changed my life. You know what I mean? I feel better.
Oh, like you eat it or drink it?
Well, I use a liquid in a pill form. Sometimes I use a powder form. But I mean, it has 102 nutrients that your body needs that you don't get from food. Now I'm a lot sea moss. Yeah, changed my life. I'm a lot more efficient. I learned that from a client who came in the office. It was an ex-basketball player, but for me taking a risk, you start realizing, where did I meet these people? From me, if I wouldn't have did this, if I wouldn't have read this book, if I wouldn't have left my house and applied that, I wouldn't have met that person that introduced me to this person that got me this opportunity. And then you start really honing in on it. So I even had my team, my staff. Okay, are you all taking and now everybody in the office is on CMOS. Now everybody, the culture, creating a culture.
I was gonna say, it feels like you created good team morale by like just the simple idea of like, hey, I want everybody to read this book, and just please take your time to mentally read this book, because now we can all start thinking alike a little bit in that kind of sense. When you say all this, it kind of reminds me of The Wolf of Wall Street. If you watch the movie, he created the system, he figured it out, he cracked the code, and he said, okay, how can I scale this? He said, I'm gonna have these 5 guys learn the exact same thing that I said and tell it to every single client, and now we can scale it. Now instead of me doing it, I'm gonna have these 5 guys do it, and then once they did it, they learned it, we're gonna have these 5 guys teach those next 10 guys, and now we don't have to do nothing, and they just keep going down, and everybody's learning the system, and we could just sit back and figure out all the back end stuff to even scale it even further. So that's what I'm taking from this whole thing, is like, you just broke it down. And now it's just like you scaled it. You scaled it to a whole nother level.
That's literally it, man. That's literally it. And getting that morale, creating, systems to where we have opportunities. If you've gotten a certain amount of premium in a year or in a month, the leading Jazz is one of the leading, she operates as my assistant, but she runs operations. So when we're talking about earning $100K every month, that was her setting an example for me. That was me. I have to set the example. So if anybody's gonna do it, it has to be me. I have to lead by example. So if I have a customer complaint, or somebody, because this is the thing about life and the thing about having a job, you can't, they don't allow you to color outside the lines. If you color outside the lines, you get a referral. Yeah. There's a lot of things that I did at Quick Trip that wasn't within the guidelines, but I got the result that I needed to get the customer out. But I never had a customer complaint because I would tap into an understanding of people, so just like if you're riding down the highway and you have to swerve over to miss a car because somebody jumped over, you rolled the shoulder of the road for half a mile, that's illegal, but you're not dead. Yeah. You know what I mean? So, yeah, sometimes you got to improvise, but the main thing is really kind of keeping a tight knit. And what will happen, it'll make people uncomfortable. And we've sifted out a lot of people. I've had to fire a ton of people. You know what I mean? Hey, look, we can't use you here. I'm not going to let this bad apple sink what we built. And it had to be an example for those people as well, to see that. But for me, even in the insurance space, whenever I jumped into like the life and annuity space, when I jumped on board, a good bit of the time frame I was going by the insurance guru. But I've always been an investment banker. People just didn't know that, because I wanted to get the opportunity to learn how to build relations. So when I met this guy, I had an opportunity to, so I'll even go back to the start of it. So, to connect the dots. So I was struggling in the insurance business, in the property casualty insurance, homeowners business. Mind you guys, I hadn't written a homeowner's insurance policy ever, until I started my business. Didn't know how to do it. Looking for answers, got on YouTube and met I didn't even know about social media. This is from my Android, and found this lady named Krista Tyus, because I kind of got just exhausted with it. I was uncomfortable. I wasn't used to just really operating in the clerical space of entrepreneurship in this type of space. I couldn't even really type. I still can't. I didn't even know you could use two screens. I'm like, okay, wow, that's great. You can use two screens to navigate. Long story short, saw her, listened to 6 hours of her content. I was like, okay, I want to get into the tax business. That makes money, because now I'm anxious. I'm anxious because I don't have the resolve, because I hadn't read any books that gave me the patience to understand that it takes certain amount of time and discipline and consistency. So I'm like, let me get into the tax business. That makes money. It's not the industry. Every industry makes money. So I was like, okay. So I reached out to her and said, hey, look, she was like, so what do you do? I was like, well, I'm an insurance broker, but I want to get into the tax business because it makes money. I see exactly what you're doing and everything like that, and I'm admiring it. Okay, well, how about you stick with the insurance business? I'm like, what? She was like, yeah, just here's my marketing program. Focus on this, do this, and this is how you'll scale a 7-figure business. I'm not seeing that now. I'm like, man, I used my last $1,500 on a credit card to get this program. That's what you're going to give me? I'm like, okay, cool. I stuck with it. I didn't have anything else. It's the only piece of information I have. She said, hey, do you have a Facebook account? Do you have any type of social media? That's when I found out about it. She's like, maybe you should get a professional profile. This is the blueprint. I'm like, okay, so I can get on. I didn't know that you can even access Facebook on a phone. I thought you had to be on a desktop. That was an awakening. This is 2019. So I'm like, okay, great. So start applying her principles, built the marketing up. Next thing you know, I'm listening to Be Obsessed or Be Average. He says you don't need to know your mentors, just absorb their content, because you're not going to be around the people starting off in this journey that think like you. So you're not going to be around these type of individuals at all. There's no way to reach them at all because they're not in your sphere of influence right now. Absorb their content and do what they say to do. He said, go to conferences. I said, okay, well, there's a conference called the Invest Fest. Let me invest in that. Let me go VIP. I've scaled the business. Now I'm doing a lot more than I expected to do within that. And it's a year and a year later. So go to the conference. I actually see Krista Tyus, which was my mentor, in person. I'm like, wow. I went over to her, thanked her. Thank you so much for, encouraging me to stick with that business and everything like that. Really changed my life. She said, hey, you know what? I'm actually doing my own conference here, and you should come in Orlando. I'm like, okay, great, sure. Got VIP tickets, went there, ran into a young lady who used to be a customer at my beauty supply store in Arlington, not far. She's like, Marcus, what? Oh my God, what are you doing here?
That's crazy.
And when she knew me, I was just kind of in that phase. I was kind of turned up. You know, I was like y'all's age. Last time she came, you know, I invited her to a watch party, a fight party, because I'm a big boxing fan, and you know, it was a big house party and there was weed smoke everywhere. And I could tell she was a little uncomfortable when she came there. She was like, okay. So now to see me now, and now she's like, so what have you been doing? I was like, I've been working in the insurance business. I've been doing this. And I know this is a tax conference, but you know, whenever I got all of my information together to be in the tax industry and I contacted the mentor, she told me not to do it. But at that point, I had a plethora of clients in the insurance industry. And I met one of my clients said, hey, my agent is so good. I want to introduce you to my boss. She was like, can I introduce you to my boss? He's trying to get into the insurance industry. I'm like, yeah, no problem. Met the guy, we hit it off. He gave me the software. We started working in the tax industry. And then I went to Krista's thing. So at that point, since I was in the tax industry, subtly, I was just an investor. Her name is one of the ladies, Shonda. She said, hey, maybe could you be a tax ambassador for one of my organizations? I said, sure, no problem. That's more people for me to meet. It couldn't hurt to meet more people. Now that I'm an ambassador nationwide, sure. Did that. She said, hey, look, I'm having an event. You've done a lot for the organization. Eric Thomas is speaking at this event, but they need to, you need to donate to some children or whatnot, or for whatever. There's like in order to participate, you got to donate to kids, and we're asking for, 10 grand. I'm like,
10 grand.
10 grand. So I'm like, okay, sure. Because I'm looking to gain ground. Because now it's not about the money, it's not about the belief, it's about the belief in myself to create it. So I'm like, sure. Went out there, did that. Now, came the same way, same fashion, came down to the event in Houston. Eric Thomas was speaking. I got to speak on a panel, which was great for me. I was able to bring some of my team members down. We were able to represent ourselves as an organization there, because we had a booth, and it was called the Biggest Boss Conference. And Eric Thomas, Vivica Fox, it was a couple of other leaders in the industry there. And I was like, okay, this is gonna be good for branding for me to be right next to Eric Thomas. And plus I listen to him every morning and I'm lit. So it led me to meet another guy there, but I didn't actually meet him, but the lady who organized the Biggest Bosses Conference, she said, hey, Mark, I know you go by the insurance guru and everything like that, but this one particular guy I'd like you to meet. He's really, really awesome. He's like doing this thing, and, I think that y'all can benefit from meeting each other. So I met him. His name is Andy Albright, billionaire.
Sheesh.
First time ever meeting a billionaire, right? So he's like, Mark, I see you doing certain things. This, I don't have any social media, platform yet, at a certain time frame, but at one particular time frame. Actually, I kind of do. Someone found me and said, hey, could you be on this show? We'd like to put you on this show. And it was Put a Ring on It.
Yeah, I remember that.
I remember that. I remember seeing that. I was like, not him on a TV show.
Yo, trip me out.
That's cool though.
Trip me out. I'm like, yeah, so I'm saying yes to everything until I have to say no. So just like you guys do, I'm saying yes to everything. So Andy's like, okay, well, yeah, like we'd love to bring you on board because, I like your ambition. I heard a lot about you. I'm like, okay, great. So I was like, but Andy, I'm actually getting ready to go do a TV show in Atlanta. I just lived there for like 2 months. And he's like, what, a TV? I'm like, yeah, hey, I'm just trying not to say. So me and him hit it off. So he's like, in between that time, there was some limbo period to where I wasn't doing anything, besides, he's like, if you could onboard people in our industry who are interested in being in the insurance space, that'll be great. That's what we're about, and helping people learn and helping professionals grow. I'm like, okay, I have time to do that because I'm in Atlanta, kind of chilling, waiting on them to tell me, hey, it's time to film. But the benefit of that is that if I wouldn't have went through Krista's program and understood that and scaled it and taught my people, the operation in Dallas is still going on.
Yeah.
The insurance, we're still servicing clients every single day. You know, we're still, you know, doing payroll and making things happen and everything, but I'm over here being able to do what I can do.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So at that particular time frame, I was like, I influenced about 100 people to get on board within like a 3-week period to learn about insurance, on board and get, you know, speaking engagements. And I was like, man, I'm pouring all of this time into a lot of people, you know, I really need to be, you know, back in the thick of things to really, because they're not going to do what they're supposed to do because it's 100 different people.
Mm-hmm.
They don't have the same work ethic I do.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So if I'm calling myself the insurance guru, I really need to lead by example.
Yeah.
So at that point, I was like, let me go focus in my own career. Let me get selfish again
Mm-hmm.
because I'm giving out all of this energy, and let me get selfish again and focus. And we had a trip that we had to make, you know, or we had a trip that we could win if we were to like earn like 250,000 points or something like that, or in sales. So I was like, how can I say I'm doing what I'm supposed to do if I don't win this trip?
Yeah.
You know, I have to, you know, speak by example. And then after a while, I started realizing, I'm like, all of that energy that I put out to other people was good because I learned about people. I learned, you know, their ambition and their limitations and my limitations. I was like, let me just focus on me, lead by example. And matter of fact, let me focus on getting value out to the world. And when I focused on that, you know, instead of directly helping everybody, indirectly inspiring them, that's when everything kind of took off. You know, that was like the public platform. But it all started with me by myself, desperate, not knowing exactly what to do, not knowing that the information was even out there on social media, getting on YouTube app on my Android, finding her. And that's what led me to all of that. It all connects the dots in every action.
It comes back full circle.
Full circles. So then I started focusing on, man, if I could do this, you know, in a shorter amount of time frame, this is all I got to do. I don't have to do that. So I started trimming the fat, and then understanding that you guys have the exposure to all this at a young age. Man, I'd say 5 years, you'll be multi-millionaires. 3 years, it can happen. If you put your mind, what you guys are doing, put your mind to it and build. Like I said, it seems like a long time because you're using long days.
Yeah.
And you realize it like, man, it's really it's not even a month.
Yeah.
But it seems like it's a long time because you're putting a lot into a day. You're doing in a day than what most people are not doing in a month.
Yeah, for sure.
So when you stack that up, you realize that nobody's doing anything. I'm in my own lane. I can just, they're not going to do it.
That's literally what it is. We were talking about that too. There's nobody else in Dallas or even in Texas really doing what we're trying to do, as in helping other people. They're more of from what I've seen, it's just more of themselves or whatever the case is. Instead of us, we're really trying to help everybody as much as we can. So I want to ask you, what do you think, like when we go to this event in May, what is one thing we should like try to hone in on when we go to that event of, like, you know, networking and stuff like that?
Becoming interested in people. People are we use this station, this analogy, WWFA. FM. WWFM. No. Let me read. Anyway, the analogy is what's in it for me.
Oh, what's in it for me? Okay.
So whenever you talk to people, you know, devise a list of questions. Hey, start it off with a compliment. I used to teach this to my team. You know, when we've all been walking down a hall and it's kind of like a nervous energy. Who's gonna say hi? If it's a stranger, like, hey, hi. Sometimes I'm like, hello, or you know.
Yeah.
So, but when you're walking down the hall or you approach somebody, give them a compliment. People respond to compliments. Man, that's an intro into a conversation. What do you do, man? I mean, dude, you look fly. Like, what's going on? And then stay engaged in that conversation, and then give a list of, go down a list of questions that you can ask each individual. How'd you get into that? How long did it take? Why did you? Now they're excited to talk.
To just tell you.
Yeah.
Boom, boom, boom.
Well, man, it's been a pleasure. You know, definitely, you know, any type of opportunity that we can offer you to get your brand out. This is what we do here. Here's my card. You can follow us on YouTube if you want. Thank you for your time. Next person.
Mm-hmm.
Before I go into a room and speak on a stage, I do that with everybody. I work the crowd. So now when I get on the stage, I know everybody.
Mm-hmm.
How you doing? I'm talking to them. I'm not as nervous anymore.
Yeah.
You got to understand, there's 3 fears that people have in life. The first one is public speaking.
Mm-hmm.
The next one is dying. The next one is poverty.
Yeah.
When you go balls to walls like you're doing, don't change up your lifestyle. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I've been like I said, I've worked, RA schedule. That's the most brutal schedule that anybody can work.
Yeah, it is.
Like that's a test just in itself. Like sleep mentally. Now I gotta study.
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing superficial about that schedule.
Nope.
Working over, there's nothing fly about someone coming in at 3:30 in the morning watching you clean a grill. There's nothing, admirable about that, Now I gotta go clean the toilets and I gotta get all of this done in a certain time frame every day. Or someone's on my ass.
For sure.
You
Yeah,
know what I
5 o'clock when they walk in.
Yeah, judging in a
Just
mood.
woke up too.
Yeah,
Just
mad as
woke
hell.
up, mad
I
as
gotta
hell.
be nice to them. You know what I mean? Because they're threatening my life. But when you abandon all of that, I'll say, and the most important one thing that happened to me, I was, like you guys was like, man, I was swole. I was taking protein, whey protein and everything like that. Didn't realize that was the case, but my digestive tract wasn't good.
Mm-hmm.
Flew to Nigeria to spend some time with some family. And before I got there, I laid over in Germany. The doctor called me and was like, hey, look, we don't know what's going on. This wasn't my regular doctor. CARE ATC was one of the other fill-ins. I said, hey, they're like, we don't know if it's cancer or pancreatic cancer. What I know about pancreatic cancer, you got 6 weeks to live max.
What?
So I was left with this information when I went to go take like a long vacation.
Mm-hmm.
I would use my vacation at times and, let it renew or whatnot. But at that particular time, I was left over there to think about like, dang, am I gonna die? Like, you know what I mean? I had to let that resonate. And at that point, I was like, I came back and that's when I started getting serious. I was like, man, time. Then they told me, well, after the test, you don't need to take this whey protein. But that had already put me in a mindset that I ain't got a lot of time.
Mm-hmm.
Who knows how much time I got? This food that we're eating, we don't know if it's gonna kill us or not. A lot of it's carcinogens and bad stuff. So I got rid of that fear of dying because it's gonna happen.
Yeah.
And it's a pain point because I spend most of my day now. What I do is actually do estate plans. I set up trusts for people so they can pass down their belongings, seamless. I set up life insurance policies and investment strategies so people can prepare for retirement to know exactly what they're gonna have. Because I understood Quick Trips, they had great stock. Everybody's excited, but can you really pinpoint how much money you're gonna have?
Not really.
Within 10 years? Most people can't. Can you really pinpoint? So a lot of the strategies that we have, we put, retirement is a number, not an age, or being comfortable is a number, not an age. So, and the only gratification that we get from money is the freedom that it gives you, the ability to do whatever you want to do.
Yeah.
So where's the freedom space in my life? Where's the freedom space for you? In this 10-year period, where do you plan on getting? This is the contribution that it takes to get there. That's what I do on a daily basis. 5 years, what is it gonna look like realistically? In a guaranteed vehicle. Does this work for you? Are you comfortable with this in your life? Can you commit to this? So we look at that respect. So going into the, taking all of this into your networking events, you don't know who you're talking to at the time. You don't know if you're talking to that same person with that same ambition. And you'll meet that person too. And then, committing to getting out there. But once you start getting interested in people, you'll realize how easy it is to communicate with folks. Because it's not about you. You don't have the pressure to talk about you.
Yeah.
I'm talking about everybody. Those shoes look great. You look amazing. Now I'm around a whole group and guess what? Like you said at the beginning, everybody's watching. Everybody's watching you work the room. So now they're waiting on their chance to speak to you. What's going on? Who are these guys?
Who's this guy? Yeah. I like that. See, now you just inspired me. Because Roger was like, when we go to this event May 4th, we should ask Frank if we can get on the stage and like speak just to let everybody know who we are. And I was kind of like, I don't know if we should do that. Maybe we should. And I'm completely fine with like public speaking. Like I can do it. I've done it before, like even in school, stuff like that. It was normal.
Yeah.
So like doing this now was just a little bit more out of my comfort zone because we're in a whole new space we've never tapped into before of like networking and doing for this, right? So it's you're scared a little bit, but now when you say it like that, I'm just like, yo, that sounds so good. Like that actually is a really good plan to just, like you said, to network and get and interact with everybody. Like you just said right there, that narrative in their head of like, who is this working the room right now? Going to everybody, these guys, like I can't wait to talk to them. I wonder what they're gonna talk to me about. Like that.
They'll start walking up to you.
Yeah,
They'll
I
hey,
don't
so
like
what's
that.
your name? And then at that point, you got a room full of friends. And one thing that I challenge you guys to do is do something every day that terrifies you. You know what I do every single day that terrifies me, that I do not want to do, that I hate doing it?
Cold plunge.
I haven't added that yet, but I call it paying rent.
Paying rent. Look at that.
Every day, man. I do planks, 60-second planks, 6 of them in a row. Rest for 60 seconds, go back and do the planks. Stairmaster. I hate it.
I hate Stairmaster.
I hate it, but I do it every day. But I've made that commitment and I do that every day and I paid rent that day. And nothing gives you the most confidence other than keeping your word to yourself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
If you say, just like when you leave the gym and you've had a good workout and you're in a great mood, no one can give that to you.
Mm-mm.
And you're talking to people, hey, what's up? You feel like you look good and everything. Like, no one can give that to you.
Yeah.
You take that into a room, it's in you, it ain't on you.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So at that particular time, when you're talking and you're working the room and you're like, okay, that was a great idea, Roger, how you said, hey, look, let's get on stage. Challenge yourself because now you need to work on your public speaking because now you're not here forever.
Mm-mm.
You're going to be here. People are going to say, hey, come speak to us. And what happens is that you need to script out what you're going to say.
Yeah, we were already kind of doing that a little bit. Like, what would we get on the stage and say? And he was just like, oh yeah, just kind of introduce everybody to us and whatnot. But like you just said, if we work the room, then they kind of already know who we are.
Yeah.
So once we get on the stage, they're like, I like these guys. I'm gonna reach out to them and try to get them on or whatever the case may be. Hey, are we still good on
Yeah,
this?
we're still good.
Yeah.
I'm just making
Yeah,
sure.
it's
This
funny.
is legit our longest
Our
one
longest
we've ever
one.
done.
I'm sorry, y'all.
No.
It's good.
As long as it's good with your time, man,
Yeah, exactly. We gotta make sure we go.
Man, but you know what? I think David really just needed to, because everything you're saying is what I mentioned to David before, but I think hearing it from you just kind of reaffirms that. Well, it's like, yeah. You think so?
Yeah, when you tell me, I was already agreeing with you.
Yeah.
It was just now you give me the inspiration to be like, now, like you said, now I'm really going to think about what I'm going to say once I get up there. And like I said, I'm pretty good at speaking to crowds. So I've done it and stuff like that before, but I always wanted to be a motivational speaker. So like the way you're talking to me is like motivational for me. And I've always wanted to do that. But I already knew that was later on in life, like 40, 50 years old, where I'm like, I have all this experience now. Now I can just give it all out. But even now,
doing it
now,
a lot sooner.
doing it now is like, yo, I'm so much younger doing it. It's like, I wouldn't even fathom doing it. I would have never ever thought about doing it. But now, when you bring that up, it's like you're pushing me to go out of my comfort zone, try to push you to go out of your comfort zone. And it's just like now, like you just said, iron sharpens iron.
Do it, man. Yeah, I think that you guys should do it. And, having that script and listening to other motivational speakers, I tailor the conversation and make it my own. There's nothing wrong with being a copycat as long as you copy the right cat.
Yeah.
Because they're going to receive the information from you, directly, and you may tailor it to fit an experience. And, one thing that I've also always, that I picked up on like public speaking is telling the story. Whenever I talk with, my clients or whatnot, and I'll give you guys a story. One of the reasons that I got into like estate planning and, setting up trust for people, my mom was one of 10. My grandmother had 10 kids. We all used to go to her home in Kansas City, Missouri. That was home base. So with 10 kids, there's grandkids, cousins, everybody went there for summers and, had a ton of memories there, so she died abruptly, had an aneurysm, drove herself to the hospital and died, did not have anything in order. But when you're having these private conversations with your parents or and your other siblings and things like that, and she's the matriarch of the family, they're holding that word dear and true. So, but nothing was legally put into writing, and there was no instructions. So 10 kids, siblings, cousins, bickering, fighting. The house got boarded up and we lost all of those memories that we would have had. And, you know, it could have been resolved through documentation, simple documentation, a will, you know, just an estate plan, and it could resolve that. But it impacted it and put a wedge and a drift between a lot of those relationships that, you know, we had, and they're still not mended to this day, just pretty much broke up the family. So throughout that experience, you know, I built the resolve to want to do that for myself and others, and really looking for the professional that I wanted to become. You know, I became that person, because whatever you're seeking, you're going to find. But within that story, you guys probably envisioned grandma's house, me there, you know, in your own mental picture, right? You know, the 10 kids, her driving home. Did you picture that? Her driving home?
Yeah, all of it.
All of it, right?
10 kids, everything.
Right. So when you paint that narrative, think of a story, start that off in your conversation, in any public speaking, and that's how you grasp the audience. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Did you hear what I just said right there? When I said that makes sense, that was another affirmation that I got from you, because you responded, right?
There's another one.
Yeah, I was gonna say right there.
Subtle.
That's good to ask though. Yeah, like you're making sure everybody's engaged by just the simplest, like you just said right there.
Asking questions, scripting that out, doing it repeatedly, back to back to back.
Yeah.
That's most people's major fear, number one fear. So it's not many people doing it, right? So in life is a journey. You don't never get all of this experience and then just learn it and then just give. You ain't gotta wait 50 years. You can have an experience over the weekend and boom, this is what I'm talking about today. You know what I mean? And why not do it when you're 27 versus 50? You feel like you probably look better at 20, at 27. You know what I mean? Let me go just get out the gym or whatever. I'm looking good, you know, and
get a couple push-ups before I get on stage.
Right. Or identifying with people, getting eye contact. I just spoke with you.
Yeah.
You know, you can read that resume.
I just spoke with you right there. I love that. See, that's so good. That's so good. Man,
and then duplicate it everywhere. And then if you can find someone, like the connection as far as like you guys' group, I think we had another individual, follow us with a camera. So at that point, they're like, who are these guys?
Yeah.
I've had people ask my camera guy.
You know, everything you're saying, that right there, it all ties back into the 48 laws of power. It's like, if you think about it, it's a little bit of persuasion. Like, dang, who are these guys walking around with the camera, recording them and stuff like that? Oh, they came to talk to me. Now we get on stage. They're like, oh, I see what they're doing. They're working. They're working. And that's what you want, though. But it's not even the perception, because that's what the reality is. We're actually out here working, but now you see us working because we already came to talk to you, and now we're on the stage and everything like that. So man, that's a great narrative.
Now that event is on social media, and what you do as you meet these people, hey, can I get your social media? Boom! Now you're gathering influence at that moment. Each and every time you've connected with somebody, you've got a new follower. It's really organic. And now that person is connected, and then it just kind of waves over. I did that for the earlier stages of my career to connect with the city. And then when I went to the conference and I met a guy, and, you know, I was, you know, we're of similar stature. So I've seen him from a distance. He'll see me from a distance in this conference, about 3,000, 4,000 people. And I, you know, approached him and we talked, and he was like, I was like, do you do a lot of business in Atlanta? He's like, yeah, I'm from Philly. And he was like, yeah. He's like, a little bit, but main thing that you want to do is take over your own backyard. That stuck with me. I was like, yeah. So if I'm out here seeking, but if nobody understands, if the message is not clear in Dallas, you know, so let me get on these networks. And then I did what other people wouldn't do, even though it was uncomfortable. Hey, can I sponsor your event? If you're asking people to give them money,
they're gonna say
They're gonna be like, friend,
how are you doing?
Yeah, you know, and that's gonna get you into certain circles. It may be uncomfortable. Not saying that it's all that all of it will pan out, but you'll get some endurance of taking that risk and believing in yourself. Because now, if I sponsor you, I get in the room, it's showtime. I already know what I'm gonna do.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I already know the impact. So if you can do this for free now, I promise you'll cover ground quick. That's that. I'm talking about it'll light fire. Everybody will know, especially with a camera and then these cameras. I'm telling you. And then the editing, the efficiency with the editing. You know how you want things. You know how you want put that out there. Cause that's you hustling again. That's that work being seen. You know what I mean? And then now you're back to back. Now you're consistent.
Back to back.
Now yeah. At any event, I don't care what it was. They've invited me anywhere. Y'all show up. Yeah, we want to have you speak to a nursing. Sure. It was a yes before they even asked. Yes, I'm available.
Yeah. I like that.
Yeah. And then after a while, you start. Okay, this makes more sense. This makes more. I'll make that. Yeah.
I wonder when you got the question.
No.
I got one. I was gonna ask so for right now, since you're 40 now, right? Or about to be 40.
I'll be 40. Yeah.
What is your biggest inspiration?
I would say enjoying the moment, enjoying living in the moment. You know what I mean? Understanding that everything that we want is available, but don't disregard the golden year, the golden moment that you're living in right now. Like these moments right here. You know what I mean? I'm gonna appreciate this. I'm gonna think about this. I'm gonna reflect on the entire environment, how fly their place was, and the energy of not understanding it, living then. You know what I mean? Realizing, dang, 20 years ago, I was 20.
Yeah.
I remember when I was 27 and it felt like a blink.
And now you're almost 40. Yeah.
Almost 40.
Yeah, quick.
But I realized that approaching this in this age, I have more information. So I feel better. I feel better than I've ever felt. I feel like, I'm smarter. I have more humility. I'm not held on to those ideas, and I have a thirst for certain things. I live better. You know what I mean? But the motivation is really gaining the purity of that day. Understanding, the goals are going to be there, but I'm not disregarding this moment right now. You know what I mean? Living in it, having fun in it.
That's so key. I'm for sure gonna resonate that for sure.
Yeah.
Especially at the event when we go March 4th. Now, May 4th. Now that's just more another thing to look forward to because now it's just hyping me up to get excited for it. And I'm just like, all right, like you just said before, I'm really gonna methodically think about what am I gonna say to anybody. And like you said, just having questions on questions and leading them into a different direction of what my overall goal is when I'm coming up to them to meet them.
Right.
And then if we could get on stage, what are we gonna say on stage?
You're gonna get on stage, not an if.
No, yeah, it's
manifest it. I'm telling you, when you manifest what you're gonna get it. Anything that you want. And the thing about it, nobody can be you better than you can be you.
Yeah.
That's it. So if you get up there and you're you, authentically you, it's somebody who relates to it. They may not be forthcoming in the way that you feel like they should relate to you outwardly, but they'll mess around and reach out to you. I've been watching you guys for a long time since you started. You got people like that right now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
For sure.
Half the people that view my content are not the people that actually follow me. It's like the people that follow me, only a fraction, 10% of the people that follow me are part of the group that actually see what I do.
Yeah, that are engaged.
That are engaged. You know what I mean? So there's somebody that's gonna relate to you. Get up there and be authentically you. If you stutter or mess up or whatever, that's you're always honing it. No one's ever gonna just nail it. It takes time to develop and then you start getting good at it. And just like that driving in a car model.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then channel that energy towards, that's what I said, Think and Grow Rich and How to Win and Influence Friends. Before you guys go on that, read those two books. Think and Grow Rich, you can alternate them. Be Obsessed or Be Average, it's really engaging. Be Obsessed or Be Average. When you listen to it, it's like on point. You're like, he's lit. It's great energy. So you're going to enjoy that book. How to Win and Influence Friends. That's going to give you that opportunity to really dissect those get the science of it, and then really kind of get more practical to where it could be a little bit more scripted for you. You know what I mean? And then commit to all of those. Do not deviate from your daily plan from that day, because once you've committed to everything that you said you're going to do that day, that confidence is going to infuse through you. And then, like you said, you don't have to worry about women. They're going to come. The most, when you're listening to that book, Think and Grow Rich, they'll talk about like sex energy, transmuting it towards that. You know what I mean? Towards what you're doing and using that powerful energy to focus and, you know, like in taking that, you know, energy and just, you know, putting it towards that, and the right person is going to attract you.
Yeah.
And they're going to align with your goals. And if they don't, they are not meant for you.
Yeah.
But it's all out there. I promise you. You won't have to settle for it. They're going to seamlessly come into your life. It's not going to be a struggle. Yeah. And I'm going to tell you, at this age, that's what you guys need to be focusing on. You know what I mean? The chicks are out there. When you realize it at a certain point, because you've manifested everything through the hard work, it's all available.
Yeah.
It's all available. And, you know, no one can be you guys better than you could be. And then, you know, just think about that one thing that terrifies you to do on a daily basis and do it, even if it makes you uncomfortable. Do you have that? Can you think of it?
That's deep. I'm trying to think of it right now. That scares me on a daily basis.
I do it in the gym. The most places I could correlate it to is the gym. It's uncomfortable.
Yeah.
You know, or anything else. Yeah.
Leg days.
I think for me, it's just being late to work consistently.
Well, that's
No, it's funny that you mentioned that. It's funny that you're like, you know, well, but I don't like being late.
Yeah.
I'm a very punctual guy, and one of my biggest things is being late. And just, you know, touch base on this whole, you know, fear. I just, you know, 2 weeks ago, I was going on a streak of dropping my daughter off late to school, and I was like, man, I don't want to drop her off late to school. So, I guess it was just me working a lot on this other stuff that we have outside of work, and it's just like, it's starting to get to me. So I'm like, all right, I can't be late anymore.
Yeah.
And I think for me, it's just punctuality.
Being balanced. I will say this is what helped me out with punctuality, and I do struggle with that. I'm preparing myself. Before I have to be anywhere, I'm up. I try to be up 2 to 3 hours before I have to be anywhere. Mm-hmm. So if I'm in the middle of something, in order to prepare for it, I stop what I'm doing and allot that 2 hour time frame to get mentally ready to go. Mm-hmm. And it may be tough, but that's where that discipline comes in. You know, let me stop this. But, you know, that's a fine in the mindset of things. Mm-hmm. You know, being late, you're going to be fined. We're talking about paying a fee.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, we're talking about an additional action that you have to take that's going to enhance you. That's extremely uncomfortable, because the other side of being uncomfortable is success. Now think about that fee that you have to pay, that you got to impose on yourself. Mm-hmm. Think about that fee.
Yeah, when you say that, I think the fear that I have, or what I'm scared of, is like you were alluded to earlier, was that 1%. And I remember I've been working on trying to just do 1% better for the past year, but really this year is when I'm locked in on it, trying to hone in on it. So I think for me, it's just finding that 1% every day. Is what is it going to be? Is it going to be the book? Is it going to be this conversation I had with this person today? My fear is not being able to find that 1% that day.
Maybe reading something, listening to something.
Mm-hmm. And that's me getting that 1%. Even today, I read I was listening to the book. I read like an hour of it. Listened to like an hour of it while I was at work. And even now, getting this whole conversation is like, screw the 1%. It's way more percent today than the next day or whatever it's going to be. Like today, that fear is gone. That fear is killed with, because I've already gotten that 1% better today.
Until it becomes habit. Mm-hmm. And then at that point, you know, people are like, man, Dave, you talk about different things, or Roger, you do different things. So, you know, I would say if it's something in your discipline, Roger, like maybe as far as reading or listening to something around something that's going to benefit that's uncomfortable. What's the most uncomfortable? You think about the most uncomfortable thing that it is for you to do and what you're doing here, and do that every day. whatever that's most uncomfortable in editing that you dislike doing, that you really know that you need to work on. Do it no one's gonna know that you do it.
Yeah.
Doing it. But once 6 weeks later, when you mastered it, that's where that confidence comes from. You're gonna get on stage and okay, I've added this piece to it. So, but every day it's like, damn, I gotta do that. I can't close my eyes without getting that done.
Mm-hmm. So you say that? That's me when it's like the gym. I'm like, when I don't go to the gym, I'm like, damn it, I missed out today. I literally missed out. Even if it's leg day, I'm like, dang, I could have went for 30 minutes, 40 minutes. I could have got something in instead of nothing. Even when we go to the gym, guys are like, oh, I'm only here for 30 minutes. I'm like, hey, something's better than nothing. At least you came today.
Yeah.
And that's all this is, because you can start staying in that routine. And now mentally you're like, I got to get this out the way because I'm still getting the growth in today. And I feel like I'm so excited for Roger because I know Roger getting on stage is way out of his category of what he's used to probably, because now you're in front of all these people instead of just a line of people or whatever the case is. You're in a crowd of people, and I know you're a little bit more to yourself, so you have to come out of yourself to talk to all these people. So I know it's going to be like a big jump, but it's going to be exciting to even just be there to watch him do that.
That's prepare yourself for it. You don't have to jump all the way in. It's nothing like being in the moment. Sometimes, I've spoken on a couple of stages. The first time I spoke on a stage was at a conference and I bombed it. I didn't know what the hell I was talking about. I mean, it was bad. And somebody related. People came up to me afterwards and I'm like, I was ill prepared. I prepared like an hour before it.
Yeah.
And this was at a conference, a national conference.
Dang.
I feel like I keep telling myself, nah, I'll be okay. I mean, I talk to, let's say, for example, 1,000 people a day.
Yes.
So, I mean, I think for me, just me being in the check stand is sort of my stage.
Yeah.
And I don't think I keep telling myself, I don't think I'm going to struggle talking to like 100 people in a room because I talk to 1,000 people a day.
Yeah.
That's the edge that you have. But understand, it's scripted too.
Yeah.
Yeah, yours is already scripted at where you work. Yeah. It's like you already got it in your head. It's already what do they call it? Secondhand nature. Yeah. Secondhand nature to you now. You're just doing it without even doing it. You do it so much now. You do it to somebody else at the grocery store. You're like, see you later. I do it all the time. I still do that.
Sometimes I kind of got out of it, but it's great.
It's in there. Yeah. So now it's just honing in on. Once you do it, speaking in front of those people once, then you do it again, Now you're already thinking, okay, well, I'm going to say this the next time I get up there. I'm going to say this the next time I get there. And now, like you said, it's already scripted, but it's really not because every event's going to be different. Yeah. Every person at the event's going to be different. So everything's going to change a little bit, and you're going to just get better at honing in on pointing out people, hey, whatever it is. It makes it more fun. Like, I'm already getting excited thinking about it, how it's going to go down and everything like that. Like you said, the idea of bringing a cameraman too is like, man, just doing that already just shows people like, yo, these guys are serious. These are serious. And they go look at our stuff and they're like, dang, they're not even that big yet to be this serious. And that just shows like, yo, we're trying to get it. We're working. Like I said, I've seen so many podcasts that don't even have the cards.
Yes.
And I'm like, yo, let's just, like I tell Roger too, I'm like, okay, every single episode, let's look for something we can do better in the next one.
Yeah.
And just whether it's the way we deliver it, certain way we ask questions. Even now, me and Roger struggle with going back and forth trading who's going to talk, who's going to ask this question, who's going to ask that question. But it's just like as time goes on, we've started learning, hey, you're going to go, it's all the flow. It's the flow of the conversation. All right, you ask one, I ask one. But it's just still the flow of like who's going to speak. Right. We're still learning all that as we go right now. So it's just like people don't even realize where we were when we were practicing back in January, where we were screwing up over and over again. It just didn't sound good. We weren't like syncing our minds to like, oh, you asked, we're both speaking at the same time, trying to get on the mic and stuff like that. So now it's a lot more methodical, flowing, systems already getting built.
Natural
energy. It feels good. Yeah, it feels good.
Natural
real good.
energy.
Do you have any questions?
No.
We've been going for 2 hours.
I think this is a good point.
This is a good point. All right, so you can close this out, Raj.
I want to thank you for coming by, man. I really do appreciate you stopping by, and everything that you're doing on your end as far as building your platform up, being an inspiration for David and I, and countless other people out there.
Yeah, thank you,
man, dude.
Crazy inspiration.
Oh, thanks.
Crazy inspiration.
I appreciate you guys for having me.
For real, like this is like full circle because you were one of the main people. I remember it when I was working there. It was just like entrepreneurship, and like we knew we weren't supposed to be there.
Yeah.
Like this is not the end game. When we were working there, we were talking, the conversations we're having, we're like, this is not it. This is not the place I'm trying to be. I gotta get out of here. So when I left, I think I forgot what year it was, but it don't even matter. But when I left, I was like, this is exactly what I need. I need that. I don't need to have security. Because if I have security, I'm gonna be too comfortable and I'm gonna end up working there for the rest of my life. Yeah. I need to get out of here.
So you're not at QT right now?
No, I'm gone.
Okay,
like
cool.
so I'm just like,
we're gonna talk about what happened after the camera stops rolling.
But yeah, so like I had to get out of there. So now when I'm out of it, it's like since the security's gone, it's like that drive is in me. Like I have to do something. I gotta get going because the security's gone now, and that's what I needed. I didn't even realize it until after. I'm like, yo, this is a blessing. This is what I've been needing and earning for. Like, thank you God for finally making something happen to where it just.
He'll take it away from you.
Yeah, I thought it was bad at the time, and then you just give yourself that reflection. I was like, this is the best thing that ever happened, because that security being there keeps you comfortable. When you're comfortable, you can't grow. You can't grow.
Sleep.
Yeah, exactly. So then now I'm like, when that security's gone, it was like the light bulb just went off. It was like put it all together now.
Yeah.
And then it clicked.
Lull you to, man, I think that's amazing, man.
But again, thank you.
Yeah.
Appreciate you guys for tuning into another episode of Direct Discussions. We appreciate you. Hopefully you like, comment, subscribe, and share all of our clips. We'll see you guys at the next one.
Thank you guys. Man, this was good.
Yeah.
That was super good.
Jesus Christ.
Man, that was